It's time for Sportstime on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. The first hour of Sportstime is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome into Sports Time on a Monday, September 11th. Bryant Dacus, Brett Norsworthy, Jay Morgan Harder sitting in the Family Leisure Studios. It was a busy weekend with week 2 of the college football season, week 1 of the NFL season. We've got a ton to get to today, but like I said, it is September 11th, 22 years ago, that tragic day in New York. I do want to just make mention of that before we really get into all the football. We remember it every single year, and it just still, every time I see videos, I see tributes, I see everything, it makes me emotional, and I was only 1 year old at the time. I don't remember it. I remember we had this conversation last year, Brett.
We did.
That we
may have it this time next year, too.
We might. I mean, but, it's a history lesson for me.
Brian, I was 1 year old when President Kennedy was assassinated.
Really?
In fact, a year and 18 days old, in my mother's arms, she was trying to get me to sleep where she could watch As the World Turns at 12:30 when the news broke. So, November 22nd, 1963, well, that was 22 years after Pearl Harbor.
Wow.
So, I don't know what the tenor and tone, mood of the country was still then for the events 22 years prior to it. And I don't really know how I'm supposed to feel today, but I'm with you when I see and hear the whether it's the bell ringing at Ground Zero that is so moving to go there and now see that and think about that. But I also saw this earlier, and I think I can do it and get through it. But you're hearing and seeing so much things like this today. And this is from one of the people on United Airlines 175. Hey, Jules, this is Brian. Hey, listen, I'm on an airplane that's been hijacked. If things don't go well and they're not looking good, I want you to know that I absolutely love you. I want you to do good, have good times. Same with my parents. I'll see you when you get here. I want you to know I totally love you. Bye, babe. I hope I will call you. He didn't.
I can hear you getting emotional just reading. I mean, it's crazy to have to think someone has to send that text message.
Can you imagine?
Like that? And then someone has to receive that and has to wait one way or the other to figure out what happens to their loved one. It's an incredible emotional day. My girlfriend texted me this morning. She starts work earlier than I do, so she wakes up earlier for me. She was texting me first thing this morning saying, "Man, I just saw this video about, this message or voicemail or something that somebody left on this date," and it made her emotional this morning. I mean, it's when you read that you hear it, it's crazy. I heard Jay Morgan and Dave were talking this morning before their show, and they said that I think 2 people have been identified in the last couple of weeks because of DNA and stuff. I hadn't heard that. That's incredible. Such a sad day.
They were finding. I don't want to be too graphic or profane here, but I mean literally, they were identifying people finding an eyelash.
Right.
I mean, just how we got that down. But that day, there are times I hear we'll never forget, and I think we have forgotten.
Sure.
We haven't. And I don't know how raw it should remain.
Yeah.
I wrestle with that.
Sure.
And I mentioned the seminal dates. I mentioned in 1963 we were 22 years removed from Pearl Harbor. In 1980 we were 22 years. No, that's not right. 1990. Let me get my math right. We got to be careful doing math on this show, don't we? In 1990 we were 22 years removed from Dr. King and Bobby Kennedy.
Right.
So, those big days, time does march on, but it's okay to stop and reflect. And I think the country has and will and should. But it is very moving to think about that day. And guess where I was?
I'm guessing you're right here.
Right here.
But, just like with a lot of different things.
But not here that morning, but here that afternoon. And it just, it had everything. Literally, the TV world changed that day the crawl, that's where the crawl started.
Really?
From the breaking news that day of updated stuff. And, we were all transfixed and just mesmerized by any breaking news and scared of another attack.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank goodness we haven't had another one.
Yeah, but I think, like you said, the sayings and everything, but it does seem like the country comes together. How as divided as the country can be at sometimes, it seems like we all come together, and the come together that happened right after it was incredible to kind of see those videos and stuff. And so it's good that we can all join together and look back.
In that sadness, it felt great. Just the country draped in red, white, and blue for the weeks and the months after that, and then naturally we should. Just like when you lose someone in your own family, the country as a whole kind of got back to it's squabbling.
Sure.
And it's everydayness, and it should, even as untidy as that gets. You do have to move on. You do.
Absolutely.
I see you with your Cowboys gear on. You made your Super Bowl plans.
Could you notice it?
I
the
noticed,
double
yes,
ones on my shirt.
Have you booked everything in Vegas? All set?
We're working through the. We're budgeting, making sure all the books are right before we really jump into anything. But right now, let me tell you something. I'm looking.
The easiest checkoff on Friday bingo. And I'm not kidding you. It may have been in record time last night when they went to the perfunctory shot of Jerry Jones in his skybox.
Oh yeah, it
was
record
time last night.
Can't miss, especially a primetime Cowboys game. I mean, it's going to be one of the first things you see.
Friday bingo report card. We ready?
All right, let's do it.
Out of 9 picks, we got 8 out of 9 correct. Only one we missed on. Right. You didn't get a Rock Taylor touchdown.
Yeah, that's all right. Maybe next time.
Field storming. You got it early.
Oh, yeah.
Checked off early Saturday with Colorado.
Good Lord.
A new Heisman Trophy name. Yeah. You jumped right in with Quinn Ewers.
Absolutely.
Jay Morgan. College football. The kids aren't getting to play because of the clock.
Yeah.
I think I even said that. The fascination with the Duke. A Duke T-shirt in the crowd at game day and at Big Noon.
Yep. That's crazy.
Thermometer cam at Arizona State, easy one and good one from Friday. I got all 3. I made sure to fix the game with ours, getting in Big Easy, Crescent City.
I'm sure you weren't the only one on y'all's broadcast, though.
I got it in early to make sure. Arch Manning, mentions and sightings with the TV and the Jerry Jones skybox shot.
That's
also
crazy.
From the weekend. Friday, Alan Bell, 6-1 with us on NFL.
That's incredible.
The only game he missed was the Joe Burrow over 1 interception. He had 0. He should have had 5.
I was about to say, he could very easily had multiple.
And as Alan Bell texted me back last night, he goes, how do you throw an interception when you're on your back?
That's a good point. That's a very
He
good
went
point.
3-0 in college. Bruce Marshall 4-4 on college, but 3-0 in the NFL.
It's incredible.
And this is something I'm going to track all year. When they agree, and they agreed on Dallas last night, and it was easy over early for the Cowboys.
Extremely over. I mean, that first drive from New York kind of had you nervous, but then you get a block kick, you take it all the way back, and after that it was all gas, no brakes, and for Daniel Jones. I mean, talk about a quarterback being on their back most of the night.
What about their offense? Those quarterback sweeps, every 7th grade team runs that offense.
Yeah.
An NFL team, primary, have Saquon Barkley in your backfield, they're running quarterback power sweeps.
Yes. Now obviously the conditions weren't great last night, so I doubt that was probably the game plan the Giants wanted to put out there, and you kind of have to work with the weather, which I was terrified last night we were going to get into a rain delay at some point. I mean, it was coming down parts of that game.
Rain delay Friday on bingo card. Anything in North Carolina Saturday was impacted.
That whole 11 a.m. slate, pretty much every game
wiped out.
It was Vanderbilt that we broadcast on one of our sister stations was 2-hour delay, more than a 2-hour delay. I mean, it was
right there in Winston-Salem.
Oh, yeah.
And every Learfield, and just about everybody they are Learfield in college sports. Well, the hub of Learfield is in Winston-Salem.
Right.
And we were asking what's plan B if they get hit.
Oh, jeez. I didn't even think about that.
And patch through Jackson, through Telesouth on cell phones. if it occurs.
Holy cow. Wow. So, I mean, and that's something you got to think about, but holy cow, that's a lot of hoop staff to jump through.
I told him, I said, I was a history major. I don't have any engineering.
I don't know how to do this.
As you know, I can barely plug in my laptop charger.
It gets tricky sometimes, Brett. But, no, it was a lot of rain outs, but some good games in college. That kind of 2:30 slate on through the rest of the night was really, really good. Now this week 3 slate is
it's a little thin.
It's a little thin, but hey, I'm sure it will make for some really good games.
And we're going to see then in week 4, Big Noon will be at Ohio State, Notre Dame. NBC will have a heavy influence there. And we're going to see, and I think they're long since away from this, the old saw standard for game day. We're at the best college game every week regardless. And they have been there.
Sure.
But in these economic times, when there's real cost-cutting, budget tightening, they say at ESPN Disney now, ABC, ESPN Disney now, I'm just using this example, say 15 years ago, Lee Corso turned in an expense voucher. They didn't even look at it. They cut him a check.
Right.
They say now they've got bean counters. You turned in something for 40. Could you not have done it for 30?
Really?
Oh, yeah. They say it is tight. So how much does ESPN want to go publicize something that's going to blow out a rating that night for NBC?
That's true. That is a good point. I didn't think about that.
Because in the end, as I tell all of y'all, when you get here, I know you've got your broadcast journalism degrees. In a year, you're going to have your business degree.
Sure.
This is a business.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. No, that's a very good point. And, I mean, but for Big Noon Kickoff, I mean, depending on how Oregon does this week and Colorado does next week, Big Noon Kickoff has taken a stand that they're just going to follow Colorado the entire season. And
ride the Dion
why not?
wave.
I mean, the first game, obviously at TCU,
Made
the
sense.
hype makes sense. First game in Colorado makes sense.
And it really flows when you have that 11 or 2:30 game. I thought the crowd at Tuscaloosa was hurt by the long wait from the helmet of Corso to kickoff.
It's a long time.
But that 11 o'clocker at TCU worked perfectly.
Super easy, yeah. And same thing with last week in Colorado, or I guess this past weekend in Colorado against Nebraska. They're both Big Noon Kickoff and Game Day are going to be at Colorado State this weekend. So, I mean, Big Noon Kickoff, I mean, when you see Colorado, who knows what they'll be if they beat Colorado State next week, depending on what happens in front of them. And Oregon, same thing. Right now, both top 20 teams could easily probably be both top 15 teams by next week. You might see one of them say, why not? Let's go to Oregon.
We're just 2 weeks in, very, very, very small sample size, but much bigger than the one we had in the hallways of SEC Media Days in Nashville. When nobody had put on a pad.
Yes.
And we knew everything then, me included.
Oh, yeah.
We had all the answers then.
That's right.
All right, with that, just never mind playoffs, just through 2 weeks. What's the 4 college teams kind of moving you, galvanize, you think, the sport?
Colorado is certainly number one.
I agree.
I'd say after what Florida State did on that standalone game, Florida State, I want to say Duke for the same reason, but that game this weekend playing an FCS opponent I think kind of hurt them in week 2. Texas.
That's my third one to go.
And then 4th, oh gosh, I'm blanking on some teams.
He's got a big trophy.
USC. Yeah, I think
that's
you're right.
my 4 right now.
How about
that could change in 2 weeks.
How about USC putting up, what was it, 49 points in the first half, and the over didn't cover in that game. Thanks, Stanford. I shouldn't blame USC. USC did their part. Stanford, good Lord. I only needed less than 20 points for them to cover that game.
But the Coach Sanders story, it's there. What FSU did in the second half.
Unbelievable.
Saturday.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, those are the 4 teams that really, it seems like most everybody's getting around. Now, obviously, if you're a Florida fan, you're not going to rally around Florida State. If you're a Utah fan or something like a fan of a Pac-12 team, you're not going to get behind USC or Colorado. And then when you watch USC, I understand that their defense has, I think, looked better since that Week 1 game. But there's some shortcomings on that defense. But that offense is incredible to watch.
Georgia's so good and that schedule's so bad, I've kind of forgotten about them.
You have. And I feel like that's a handful of teams in the SEC this year is that, a couple FCS opponents to start the year or low FBS opponents, and you're not really paying attention to those games. There's more compelling games on, and you just kind of forget about them. Georgia's one. I think Arkansas could fit that mold as well. I mean, I think Arkansas is going to have a good team this year, but because of the two teams they've played, I haven't paid much attention to them.
Now, Arkansas this week with BYU, and I think it's classic trap game. As Ty Richardson said Friday, they're kind of all going to Baton Rouge the next weekend.
That's a good point.
Be careful.
Yeah. No, you definitely got to be careful about that, because even though LSU lost that game week one, I mean, we saw what they did last year after losing a week one game to Florida State. I think that team is still going to be one of the best in the country. But let me set up today's show before we get to
also, your alumni dues have been doubled. One of the few games you've missed this year, you picked Arkansas State.
I told you, Brett, I'm a very superstitious person. I understand you and Jay Morgan are not superstitious people. So
as faithful as you are, why are you superstitious?
I think that's part of my faithfulness. I mean, I'm just superstitious when it comes to things, especially sports. Sports is the only thing I'm superstitious about. A black cat, well, I shouldn't say that.
You're not a horoscope reader, are you?
No, I'm certainly not a horoscope
I had a preacher
reader.
friend of mine in Oxford who's with us on our crew, Fish Robinson. He had a good line Saturday. He said, I tell people all the time, why do you look to the stars when you can look to the person that made the stars?
That's great. I might have to use that. That's beautiful.
Really good.
That's really good. But I mean, when it comes to sports, I just that's the only thing I'm very superstitious about. And so for me, I see that big spread. Me personally, I don't want to get behind. Memphis is covering 21.5 easily. I mean, they're going to win by 40 and then them come out and lose the game.
I had them winning by 35. Tigers win by 30. I'm going to call that a W.
I think any day you call that a win. So,
I had Ole Miss winning 24. They won by 17.
Well,
I think close enough, and that was it for me. College.
Wow.
2 and 4 on our picks.
I think I was 3 and 3.
You were 3 and 3. Jay Morgan 4 and 2.
That's pretty
on
good.
Our college picks. Pro picks. You were 4 and 1 going into tonight. We will pick at 5:30.
I like that.
Brought to you by Ruth's Chris. And Jay Morgan was 3 and 2. And I know you're getting ready to set the lineup. I was 0 and 5.
Well, let's just quickly run past that and set up today's show. I mean, we don't have to spend time on that.
0 and 5 on the NFL.
Well, it's just week one. I mean, there's still time. You're getting used to the new.
Jay Morgan was looking forward to NFL to pad his record.
Well, and he did a good job doing that.
0 and 5. Two puppies. A puppy going to 2 different bowls with the team's logo on them can go 0 and 5.
Yes. That is true. But hey, I still got faith in you, Brett. I mean, week one.
Good, because mine's shaking.
It's a very long season. I still got.
I'm gonna turn it around at 5:30 today.
That's right. That's where we start. You'll get that. You'll pick up that first win later this afternoon. Well, let me set up today's show before we get to top and not top story of the day. 3:30. Brett just mentioned the Tigers' victory over Arkansas State. We'll get into that matchup, break down what happened Saturday night at 3:30. 3:45. We'll get to some of the other teams in the AAC. It was an interesting weekend in the American with 6 teams playing Power 5 opponents. We'll talk about how they shaked out and how the conference did as a whole, because it was kind of an up and down.
One remaining undefeated team in the AAC, the Memphis Tigers.
Yeah, it feels good. How does it feel to be on top? I mean,
best you can beat is 2-0.
That's right. So we'll get into the American at 3:45. 4 o'clock, David Cobb from CBS Sports will join us to talk some college football. At 4:30, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin look back at the SEC, where we'll go through the entire conference, talk about how the teams handled their competition this weekend. 4:45, we'll get to big number of the day. 5 o'clock, Jonah Dillon, the new Tiger beat reporter, the football beat reporter, I should say, for the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us to talk about the Tigers, their first 2 games of the season, and then a short week this week, Navy on Thursday, so we'll get to a lot of Tigers at 5 o'clock with Jonah Dillon. 5:30, we'll get to our Ruth's Chris Monday Night Football preview and pick, and we've kind of shaken it up the last 2 years. We're going to shake it up again this year. We're going to stick with our Big Four, but only Big Four quarterbacks this year, so we'll do the Jets and the Bills, Big Four quarterbacks at 5:30, and at 5:45, we'll wrap up today's show like we always do with Taco Bell Crunch Time. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios where family and fun come together. The world's biggest spa sale. It's back and bigger than ever. 50 different models to choose from, 5 different manufacturers, up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas. Free upgrades on all in-stock spas. And don't forget about the 24-month same-ass cash. It's still available only at Family Leisure, 2120 Witten Road, just north of I-40.
He's Bryant Dacus of the Super Bowl champion Dallas Cowboys for the 2023-2024 season. I'm Brett Norsworthy, Jay Morgan Harder, our producer. And we are Sports Time, and we're with you until 6 o'clock. And we want you to join us at 901-360-8255. Weigh in on any topic you would like. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and online at lexusofmemphis.com. Great offers on all 2023 models and special leasing options in the 2024s, literally starting to arrive. The one and only Lexus dealership in town. Call them at 901-334-9673. Drive in luxury and confidence, knowing that every new Lexus comes with complimentary first and second maintenance services. Stop by today at Lexus of Memphis at 2600 Ridgeway and put yourself in the driver's seat of the all-new 2023 flagship LS500. You'll be looking and you'll be driving in style. When you purchase a Lexus, you get top-of-the-line engineering and design, and they make for the luxury driving experience. Online at lexusofmemphis.com. Experience amazing at Lexus of Memphis.
Top story of the day.
Well, my top story of the day is week 1 of the NFL yesterday. A lot of people, maybe only the people I'm listening to because they're the people I follow and want to listen to, are talking about the Cowboys and their 40-point victory over the Giants last night. It was
40 to nothing.
It was glorious, Brett. I mean, me and my father watched the entire thing, and we were laughing from about start to finish.
Did you have side and under?
I didn't have either. I did not bet anything last night on that game. No player props, no side, no total. I just wanted to sit down and watch the game last night, and it was a great game. But there were a lot of other really fun games yesterday. Here locally, the Titans lost to the Saints in a 1-point loss down in New Orleans. It was a very weird game.
A review of the opening play.
Yeah. Well, and then, I mean, reviews all over the place. They reviewed the where the ball got knocked out of Derek Carr's hands, got picked up. They shouldn't have blown the play dead. They should have let him run it all the way back. They blow it dead. They review it. They say it was an incomplete pass. It was a weird game.
14th, 16-15 game in NFL history.
Really? Wow, that's actually maybe more than I thought there would be.
Me too. I went to the Scoregami page of Football Ref, and I thought it would be fewer than that.
Yeah, I thought so too. But also, we got to see a lot of these rookies shine. We saw the 3 first-round quarterbacks that were taken in the draft. I thought all of them looked decent to good in their first game in the NFL. Then in the late slate, Packers, what they did to the Bears last night, underdog before that game started, but 38-20 win. And then the Dolphins, which I thought was probably the best game of the day. It was incredibly back and forth between those two teams, but ultimately the Dolphins with a 2-point victory on the road. It was a very fun first Sunday of the NFL, and I'm looking forward to this game tonight. I know a lot of talk has been around the Jets, and we'll see what they're all about.
Is it still raining in New York from last night's game?
Good question.
Because it really set in on Giants and Cowboys last night. Tonight, Jets and Bills. The Jets against the Western New York Buffalo Bills. My top story, Texas is back. Please don't tell us. The U is back. It won't be for long. FSU is really back. And you know who hadn't showed up yet? SEC. Someone tell me the Gold Star win so far through 2 games, through 2 weeks. Give me the Gold Star win for the SEC this year. The one that's really impressive. Anybody? I want that at 360-8255.
I don't got it.
901-360-8255. In the conference where it used to just mean more.
It just means more, Brett.
I dare you to give me the best win for 2023 by current SEC members. Don't tell me Texas. They're in the Big 12 right now. For SEC teams, is it State over Arizona? Ole Miss on the road against Tulane with a backup quarterback without their best linebacker?
That could be it. I mean, I can't think of anything else.
not top story of the day.
My not top story of the day, even though it's football season, Penny Hardaway continues to work with the recruiting class. Today picks up a commitment from a 4-star shooting guard in the class of 2024. Jared Harris committed earlier today. It was first reported by Joe Tipton, who does a lot of the recruiting. I believe he's now with On3. And then after that, a lot of the local reporters, and even some of the national guys at 247, Rivals, confirmed that he had committed to Memphis. He had 26 offers at Kansas State, LSU, Nebraska, Oklahoma. Were all in 6'2", 160 pounds. He's listed as a shooting guard. I've also heard him been called a combo guard, probably just because of that size at 6'2". The little I've been able to read about him sounds like he's more comfortable off the ball in that 2. I don't know with that size at the next level if you would really be comfortable with him at the 2. But, I mean, a 4-star guard. Narrowed
down to who else was he considering?
Kansas State, LSU, and I believe Nebraska.
That's good company.
Very good company. So, still very early in the class of 2024. We don't even have the roster set for 2023. So a lot can change, but I do think it is a good start for Coach Penny Hardaway to get a 4-star. I've heard a lot of people talk about today, this isn't a 3-star local guy that just committed to the school and maybe down the road will decommit. They'll ask him, hey,
thumb on the scale, 3-star.
Exactly, yeah. No, this is a 4-star guy. So I think a big pickup.
I saw hometown Silsbee, Texas.
Yes.
In the 70s, old-time Tiger fans will remember. This is not the first player from Silsbee, Texas.
Really?
He was just a good player, 6'7", 6'8", forward type. David Brown, 74, 75 season, maybe 75, 76 from Silsbee, Texas. That's just north of Beaumont and east of Houston, but he won't be the first ever from Silsbee, Texas. I can remember Jack Eaton calling the hometown. Not top story for me is this. I state your name, do hereby swear, all of us, before God and man, and all things holy, to never pick A&M to do jack again. Did you know they're rich? Did you know their facilities are great? Do you know they have 5 stars in NILs and $100 million to wipe the slate clean between NILs, what they owe Jimbo, what they owe assistant coaches? It would take close to $100 million. But what are they going to do? I mean, I think they have a coach that's not hungry. I don't see urgency. I don't think Saturday was Bobby Petrino's fault. I think it was more DJ Durkin than Bobby Petrino, but it wasn't great on offense either Saturday.
No, it wasn't.
And when Jimbo Fisher pulls out his reading glasses on the sidelines, here's what he's looking at.
Okay.
To make sure all those zeros are still on that buyout contract.
You got to make sure. I mean, you can never try to get too comfortable. You got to make sure all your ducks are in a row. But, Brett, I mean, that won the game in the second half. I mean, that game was over.
The U's not back. You back, Jay Morgan?
The U's back. The U's 100% back. So are the horns. Can I do this? Is this acceptable now where we can throw up the horns and the U at the same time?
I'm sitting at the bar watching the second half at Felix's Saturday night.
Okay.
And when they're doing the walk-off interview of Quinn Ewers, and you can hear Eyes of Texas playing, and they show Matthew McConaughey, I wanted to hurl.
I do love me some Matthew McConaughey. Brett, it gets me excited whenever I see him at a Texas game. They also tried to bait him into saying Texas is back. And he said, he still got a long season
Please don't tell us, Texas, if you're back.
Now, Quinn Ewers may be the first quarterback in a while that has been given an opportunity after a big win to proclaim Texas is back and passed on it. So maybe that's a step in the right direction.
Sam Ellinger didn't pass.
No, he took full advantage of it, and we saw what happened after that. They weren't back after that. So maybe a step in the right direction.
They were so much better in Bama. We're going to get to it.
We will.
They were the better team, clearly.
They certainly were. That'll do it for top and not top story of the day. Let's go ahead and get to our first break of the day. And when we come back, we'll talk about what the Tigers did Saturday night against Arkansas State. That's next on Sportstime.
You already know you can listen to Sports 56 anywhere with the Sports 56 app or at sports56whbq.com. But you can also watch us daily with live video of all of our shows on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch.
We interrupt this broadcast for special news and information concerning family leisure. The world's biggest spa sale is back and bigger than ever at Family Leisure. How is that possible? Well, let me tell you. You start off with 50 different spa models to choose from 5 different manufacturers. Then you throw in up to 30% off in-stock spas and swim spas. But is that all? Oh, no. You get free upgrades on all in-stock spas, plus 24 months, same as cash. Wow! This is the kind of sale that you just can't have every day. But it's happening right now at Family Leisure, the world's biggest spa sale. Soak in the savings right now at Family Leisure, Whitten Road and I-40. You know the place where family and fun come together.
Please remain calm and walk. Don't run to Family Leisure. And now back to your regular programming.
Country music singer-songwriter Kylie Morgan absolutely loves her Genesis diamond ring.
I got so many compliments as soon as I got the ring and continue to get compliments on it because it looks really pretty on my finger.
Kylie's husband Jay heard folks in the music industry raving about Genesis, but he also did a lot of homework on his own.
When it came to finding the ring, he took it very seriously. He did all the research. I think he knows more about diamonds than any man in the entire world, and that's how he landed on Genesis. He just knew that they were the best.
Jay picked out a stunning, flawless, pear-shaped diamond in an elegant setting. Got the value price Genesis is known for. And now they both tell everyone they meet about the amazing Genesis experience.
When you walk into Genesis, you can just feel the happiness. You know that they're helping find something that symbolizes the love that you have for your partner, and you can feel that as soon as you walk through the door.
It's always been you, and I've always been your wife.
Genesis Diamonds at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
WeatherGuard, the name that stands for unmatched security in truck boxes, is now making a name for itself on the NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series circuit. WeatherGuard is the official sponsor of the safety and security work crews at Speedway Motorsports tracks across the country. Engineered to meet the demands from job sites to race sites, WeatherGuard truck boxes feature double welded seams, weather-tight seals, and high security latches and locks. If it's a job worth doing, it's a job worth WeatherGuard. Learn more at weatherguard.com/truck.
A busy fall schedule doesn't mean you have to compromise when it comes to meal times. Great taste, quality ingredients, and convenient doorstep delivery. So yes, you can have it all with HelloFresh. HelloFresh knows you have a lot on your plate, so they deliver pre-portioned ingredients and foolproof recipes to your door. From fit and wholesome options to family faves, they handle meal planning and grocery shopping. So all you have to do is receive your box, cook, and dig in. HelloFresh is not just for dinner. You can stock your fridge in quick breakfasts, 10-minute lunches, fresh snacks delivered along with your weekly order. It's great. Probably the best part, HelloFresh is actually cheaper than grocery shopping and 25% less expensive than takeout. Right now, you can save even more when you join America's #1 meal kit today. Get 50% off, plus 15% off the next 2 months with the code 50Colin at HelloFresh.com/50Colin. That's code 50Colin at HelloFresh.com/50Colin.
Ray Magliozzi here for eBay Motors. Okay, easy now. You're teaching your kid how to parallel park. Ouch! Turns out he likes to do it by feel. Don't worry, eBay Motors has bumpers, taillights, trunk lids, license plate holders, 122 million parts. Pull up just a little bit. And headlights. They've got lots of headlights. Get the right parts at the right prices. eBay Motors. Let's ride.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. We're sitting in the Family Leisure Studios, and we talked a lot about a lot of the football that happened over the weekend, but the Tigers were in action over across the river in Arkansas against Arkansas State in Jonesboro, and a 37-3 win for the Tigers to start the season 2-0. Brett, Friday we talked a lot about a fast start for the Tigers. They need to come out
37-3, right?
37-3. Yes.
All right,
yes,
I got my math wrong earlier. I said the Tigers would win by 35.
That. I could have very easily.
They won by 34.
Yeah, I could have very easily written down the wrong thing, but I'm pretty positive it was 37-3.
I was thinking 37-7.
No, it was definitely 3. It was definitely 3. So 37-3.
Good.
Yeah. Brett, we talked about a fast start for the Tigers.
I'm calling on the nose then.
You were? I mean, basically. Close enough. But it really wasn't a fast start for either team. Obviously, Arkansas State never really got anything going. But for the Tigers, I mean, you look at their first couple of drives, the whole first quarter for both teams went punt, interception, field goal, fumble, and then a missed field goal that the drive started in the first quarter, ended early in the second quarter. So, I mean, it was very slow starts for both teams. But after that, Tigers turned it on and really never looked back after that. A 21-point second quarter, which was where most of the action happened. Only two touchdown in the third, 2 field goals in the, or I guess a touchdown in the fourth quarter. So a touchdown in the third, touchdown in the fourth. So really, all the action happened in the second quarter, and I was very impressed with what I saw from the Tigers.
They got after J.T. Shrout. He had to be pulled, and I know Tiger fans are probably very concerned about the run game. Mm-hmm. Okay, I don't want to delude myself, but we're early in the season. Yeah. The two opponents have not been the highest level for the Tigers. This Thursday against Navy, you're going to have to run more than you have against either Bethune-Cookman or Arkansas State, but 2-0 and really easy. Mm-hmm. I would concern myself more with that than the problems that might exist. Sure. There are people that are paid a lot of money over in that coaching building that have to worry about those problems. For fans, enjoy being 2-0.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and, you talk about the run game, I think.
And I'm going to say the same thing when we get around to Ole Miss.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
And Arkansas. And Mississippi State.
Yeah. But I think for a lot of people, you mentioned the run game, and I saw a lot of that. I was, had the same thoughts during the game of, man, the run game just really ain't getting going like I thought it was. But I think you kind of had that expectation because of how well the run game looked, how great they were running the ball week one against Bethune-Cookman. I think you kind of had this idea in your head of, oh man, we're back. This run game that we've been so used to the past couple of seasons with all of these guys that have gone on to the NFL, it's back. You had a 100-yard rusher. You had another guy that ran for 3 touchdowns. And so I think sky was the limit. I mean, you were at the roof, and then that game yesterday, I think, brought a ton of people down because, okay, it's going to be exactly like it was last year and the year before when they just couldn't get anything going running. So I definitely think you need more time for that, but it's hard not to be encouraged with what this defense has done. And I understand, I've heard a lot of people say, well, it's only against Bethune-Cookman and against Arkansas State. But just like you said, let those coaches worry about who the next opponent is. You wanted them to go out there, and this is for any team in the country that's playing an FCS opponent and maybe a lower tier FBS opponent. When you go out and play those games, you want those games done by halftime. I mean, you want to go out, get the job done, and get back home. And that's exactly what the Tigers have done the first 2 games. So I think you got to be very pleased with the start.
Seth Hennigan, 21 of 29, but I see 8 carries. Tell me, because I didn't see the game. Was that 8 kind of called runs, or was that 8 being pressured, not running for your life, but to elude?
Yeah, no, I wouldn't say pressure, more sense of he rolls out of the pocket and just nobody's open and he just kind of tucks it and run. I
think he can run.
He can, yeah.
Better than maybe advertised, but I would almost guarantee you those coaches are telling him there's going to be a point in the year that we're going to put the ball in your hands and you're going to have to run more. Not against Bethune-Cookman and Arkansas State, though.
And last year he had to learn.
Maybe not even Navy.
Yeah. Last year he had to learn how to slide. I mean, he just wanted to get out of the pocket and try to run over a linebacker. And they're saying, hey, no. you got to slide. You got to get out. And so he's gotten a lot better at that. And so, I was impressed. I mean, with Seth, I think the biggest thing for him, what you're getting this year from Seth. He's proven it over the last 2 seasons. I think for him going into this game against Arkansas State was, in that first game, you had 2 interceptions. I think both of them were just kind of weird plays, but it's still 2 interceptions on the box score. So I think going out here against Arkansas State, you really wanted a clean game from him. And
a clean game from the team. No turnovers, absolutely. 3 penalties.
Mm-hmm. And the defense, I mean, the way they swarmed around, getting interceptions, forcing turnovers, forcing punts, I thought this was a really good performance by the Tigers.
We will talk with Jonah Dillon at 5 o'clock from the Commercial Appeal on the Tiger Football Beat. New on the beat and really looking forward to visiting with Jonah. And we'll make the pivot to this week, and the pivot happens early in the week this week with Navy on Thursday. Navy is the first game that any preseason math, everybody had 3-0 in it. This is the first challenge to any preseason math.
Yeah, I would think so. You're always going to get a tough game from Navy just because of the triple option. And from what I understand, their new coach who's come in, sticking with it, but kind of tweaking some things here and there to the triple offense. So you're going to see, I knew there were some question marks before the season started of, okay, does a new coach, does this mean triple option is going to be completely out?
It's not going to be Air Coryell.
No. They're not going to air it out or anything like that. It's still going to be the exact same triple option that we've kind of gotten used to. And that's very tough, especially on a short week like that where, I know there's a lot of coaches that are in conference. And I'm not sure if Silverfield's one of them. I think Norvell or Fuente, one of them did it where every single week they would have at least up until the game off, those couple of weeks preseason and then the first couple of weeks in the regular season, they would have a period, a week, a period every couple of days where they're just working on what Navy's offense is going to show and how to defend it because it's not nobody else in the country that you're going to see does that. And so it's so different, especially on a short week. It could be difficult for this defense after playing a team in Arkansas State that tried to get the ball through the air a lot to kind of go against a triple option offense.
And now the kickoff time set for the Mizzou game in St. Louis, Zoo in the Lou. Yeah. That'll be a 6:30 game.
You surprised that it's a 6:30 game?
I'm not. You see a pretty crowded SEC schedule that day, but that's a good game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I think a lot of people, probably because of how crowded that SEC schedule is, and week 4 there's a lot of good games, and I think this is one of them. But there were some people saying, "Oh, this is just going to be they're going to throw it at 11 a.m. game, and it's going to be an early morning first window game." I was glad to see it was 6:30. Kind of surprised me.
11 o'clock game that Saturday's Auburn. Auburn at home. No, Auburn visiting Texas A&M. Auburn at A&M. The Tigers in Mizzou at 6:30. The 6 o'clock game, Charlotte in Florida.
Yeah.
And LSU, Arkansas.
So some good games that night. Some good SEC
crowded
games.
schedule.
Yeah, very crowded.
For Arkansas State, a friend of mine texted me yesterday, and I took him seriously, said, Butch Jones fired? And I'm scrambling around looking on Twitter. I thought he meant it. Period, but it was question mark, and it's a rough start for him.
Yeah, I mean it's anybody in the country that gets beat 73-0 and 37-3 in the first 2 games it's
easy
rough.
Math.
I mean it's very easy math. I don't know if he makes it through the season. I hate talking about coaches like that and saying
110-3. I mean, how do you get your fans fired up for anything?
You can't. And I know from when the day I was out last week, y'all talking to Kara Ritchie, following her Twitter, there was still kind of that sense of, okay, first loss of the season, it was against Oklahoma. Hey, maybe Oklahoma is just unbelievable this year. Home game, let's get back. Everybody's excited for the first home game of the season. And then you go out and show that, and then your next game's against Stony Brook. And this schedule is hard for them. Me and Dave were talking about this earlier today. Stony Brook this week, FCS opponent, you should take care of business there.
Stony Brook plays football?
And they sure do. But then after that, you've got Southern Miss at home, which is going to be a tough game. At UMass, who has looked better this year than they were last year, which will be a tough game. At Troy, which last Friday we were just talking about their 12-game win streak that got snapped this weekend against Kansas State, and then Coastal Carolina. That's a tough stretch of games for Arkansas State. So I don't see a lot of wins.
How many Tiger fans made the trip to Jonesboro?
It seemed like it was a really good crowd. It seemed like, and I was a little disappointed in myself for not making the trip. I've never been to Jones. I mean,
your dues have doubled.
Yeah,
picked against them, didn't go.
It is what it is. I went as a child, but I haven't been in this new stadium. I hear it's great. I need to.
It's going to be a while before the Tigers go back.
It is. So who knows when I'll get over there, but I'm going to make sure I get over there at some point, whether for a Tiger game or another Arkansas State game. But it was definitely a good win for the Tigers, make them 2-0, and now, like you said, a short week against Navy, and we'll be able to talk about if the Tigers are 3-0 on Friday when we're previewing all these other games. But let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we just talked about the Tigers and what they did over the weekend. We'll get to the rest of the American Conference. That's next.
Start your day with Sports 56 Mornings with Greg Gaston and Eli Savoy. Weekday mornings from 7 to 10, right here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
5 Ash Roofing, it's what we do. Roofing and siding, gutters too. We're the pros you can trust to get it done right. Call on us. 5 Ash Roofing, the name to know. 5 Ash Roofing, the only way to go. 5 Ash Roofing, it's what we do. 5 Ash Roofing.
Is that not the corniest thing you've ever heard? Can you believe I paid good money for that silly jingle? Well, the experts say make it memorable, and I think I got my money's worth. 5 Ash Roof Services, proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. 5 Ash Roofing, 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
5 Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
The NFL is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL, is giving you a can't-miss offer for Week 1. New customers can get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you bet just $5 on any NFL game. Plus, all customers can take advantage of 2 new offers every single game day in September. New customers, download the DraftKings Sportsbook app, use the code ROAM, and take home $200 in bonus bets instantly just for betting $5. That's code ROAM. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook. Must be present in a state where it's lawful to wager. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See dkng.co/football for eligibility, terms and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions to apply.
Kevin Harlan here from Monday Night Football on Westwood One. A great game to close out Week 1 when Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets host Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills in an AFC East matchup. Join me and Hall of Fame quarterback Kurt Warner live from the Meadowlands on air and on the free live stream, sponsored by AutoZone, on Monday Night Football.
Right here on Sports 56.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call TN Redline 1-800-889-9789.
NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Lexus of Memphis. Here are your hosts, Brett Stats Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan sitting in the Family Leisure studios. We just talked about the Tigers, their big win on the road against Arkansas State. But let's look at the rest of the conference, the rest of the American in Week 2. And it was a very interesting week because 6 teams in the conference played Power 5 opponents. Only one came out with a win, and it's probably not one you would think would come out with a win. Rice, a big upset.
After Houston beat UTSA the week before.
In the week before, 43-41 in 2 overtimes. I wouldn't even say it was really this close. Rice jumps out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter. Houston comes all the way back, scoring 21 points in the fourth quarter. So really, outside of the first quarter and the last quarter, there was basically no scoring happening in this game. And so Rice gets out early. Houston closes late. And then 2 overtimes, Rice picks up a win. That is a huge win for Rice over
JT Daniels.
And huge for the American Athletic Conference, kind of saying, all right, Houston, we can beat you when you want to go up to the next level.
Maybe JT Daniels will win that Heisman I predicted for him a few years ago.
Maybe a little too far.
Be Rice's first Heisman winner ever.
Well, that'd be great. I don't know. I don't know if I see it. But maybe you give me a couple more performances like this, I'll be on your side about that. But they were the only team out of those 6 to beat a Power 5 team. The other 5 teams in action against P5. Tulsa lost to number 8 Washington 43-10. SMU lost to number 18 Oklahoma 28-11. 24-ranked Tulane lost to 20-ranked Ole Miss 37-20. Charlotte lost to Maryland 38-20. But for Charlotte, they led 14-0 after the first quarter, 14-9 at half. That Charlotte defense, I think, could be really good for them. Got a pick 6 after the first drive for Charlotte scored. Got a pick six right after that to give them a 14-0 lead. And when you look at that defensive line, some of those linebackers, a lot of them coming from Power 5 schools, a lot of them coming from Michigan, where Biff Poggi came from. So that could be something to keep an eye on. It is that defensive line for Charlotte. Then finally, Temple lost to Rutgers 36-7. As a whole, conference only 5-9 this week in games. So not a great weekend for the American.
The Tigers really do look like they can be the standard bearer for this league, and arguably should. I don't want to put too much on the should right now, but it will build to that, especially after starting 3-0. And going forward from there for Memphis.
Yeah, I mean,
Tulane's good.
Yeah, very good.
Real good. Ole Miss could not move Tulane's defensive line.
Yeah, and
1 of 13 on third down.
That could be a real issue for the Tigers, trying to get that run game set up in a couple of weeks when they play Tulane. But you look around, and you've mentioned it a couple times of. Nowhere in the math did anybody have Memphis losing those first 2 games to Bethune-Cookman
or this one coming up,
Arkansas State, or to Navy. But when you look at the conference and some of the performances from some of these other teams and just confidence as a whole going into conference play, these 2 first wins and then a win, if you can pick up a win Thursday night against Navy, that is huge for momentum as you get in conference play. You mentioned earlier, Memphis, the only undefeated team left in the American after some of these games over the weekend. So you got to feel good if you're the Tigers right now.
You do, and even in some of these losses, they were fairly. Some were predicted. But it was representative.
Yeah.
That Charlotte effort against Maryland was a good effort.
I thought it was great, and there were parts of that game in the third quarter I was going, their offense can't move the ball, but
I was a little surprised with UAB's defense.
I was going to say, there were some very strong, like I would say Charlotte's up there for strong. I would say, obviously, UTSA's win, even though that was a win, we're talking about losses, I thought it was very strong. But some of the other ones, East Carolina giving up 31 points to Marshall was a little surprising after.
I thought SMU played OU.
Played really well against. I was actually surprised because I didn't watch that whole game. I watched early in the game. I was surprised Oklahoma covered that game. But I think there were some good wins, some competitive losses, but then there were a couple losses that I was going, UAB giving up 40-something to Georgia Southern. There were some that kind of raised an eyebrow.
I know this week and this weekend, and for Thursday night, going to be a lot of fun tailgating. Start the tailgate at the commissary. Start any good time at the commissary. Either place, the new Collierville commissary at Houston, Levy, and Poplar, or the original in Germantown. perfect for a big group. If you can't get to the stadium on Thursday night, watch it at the commissary. Watch all the games there with all your friends and enjoy that Memphis-style barbecue and ribs done the authentic Memphis-style way, the slow-cooked way. If you're craving an easier way to order, text commissary to 33733. Start with the appetizers like the barbecue nachos invented by Walker Taylor and his team in the early 80s, smoked chicken wings, outstanding. The tamales, the cheese plate, all the appetizers, all those big enough to be an entree for some, but you need to start with that and then dig into the ribs or the shoulder, chopped or pulled on a plate, on a sandwich, with all the great sides like beans, slaw, deviled eggs, and bread. And you can order it by the pound or a 6-pack or an 8-pack or a 12-pack. Save room for dessert like the lemon icebox pie, the banana pudding, the strawberry cakes. You can buy the whole pies and whole cakes and take that to the tailgate with you. 901-754-5540. Online at commissarybbq.com in Collierville and Germantown. Those party areas, orders to go, catering, tailgating, and coming soon, real soon, we'll start talking about the holiday bird at the commissary. 901-754-5540. Go online at commissarybbq.com.
And you talk about the American, just quickly before we get to a break, playing all these Power 5 opponents. I was just taking a look at their Week 3 opponents. Clemson on the schedule against Florida Atlantic, Oklahoma on the schedule again against Tulsa, Alabama on the schedule for South Alabama. So you're still going to get
North Texas has been disappointing.
Oh my gosh!
I've missed both weeks on them.
And not just disappointing, giving up 46 points to Florida Atlantic. Yeah. Now, I watched Florida Atlantic Week 0. I haven't watched them since then, but they did not look like a team that's supposed to put up 40 or more points in a game when I watched them in Week 0.
South Florida gets Bama at home.
How about that? After announcing that they're going to do a bunch of upgrades to their stadium. I mean, things are going well for South Florida. Now the outcome of that game might not go in their favor, but
might be a highly motivated Bama.
Yeah, a very highly motivated Bama, because Nick Saban's not going to let them. He's going to give it to them this week for sure. But it should be another fun weekend in the American with some of these games this weekend. Kicking off with a conference showdown Thursday night here in Memphis as Memphis takes on Navy. But that'll do it for our first hour. Let's get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk some more college football with David Cobb.
Bartlett Small Engine has been serving quality power equipment since 1970. They have a full line of power equipment, parts, and services for most makes and models. Bartlett Small Engines has the best brands in the power tool industry, and they're all American made. Bartlett Small Engine is your can-do store. 6780 Summer Avenue. Call 901-386-9779.
Bartlett Small Engine has free pickup and delivery both at your home and curbside for lawnmowers, blowers, edgers, and any small engine. Call 901-386-9779.
Everyone needs protection, whether you're on the field or on the road, so make sure you have the best. Bob Simpson State Farm Insurance can buckle you up with auto insurance, can back you up with life and health insurance, cover your business whether it's starting, growing, or maturing, and don't forget to insure your home, no matter if you're an owner or a renter. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Call Bob Simpson today at 901-381-1233 or go online and get a free quote at bobsimpson.org. Stay protected with your good neighbor, Bob Simpson.
If you've tried to buy a Rolex watch lately, you know how difficult it is. New models are in rare supply. Some jewelers put you on wait lists. Others make you buy their other jewelry at inflated prices just to be considered for a Rolex purchase. Well, that's all changed now that Genesis Diamonds has arrived. Genesis Diamonds is the premier dealer of luxury pre-owned Rolex timepieces. People who come in are shocked to see Daytonas, Hulks, Submariners, Pepsis, Datejusts, all the hard-to-find Rolex watches ready to wear today. At Genesis, we've used our worldwide connections to find only the first luxury pre-owned Rolexes, immaculate, pristine watches, fairly priced with no strings attached, and with flexible financing options. So enough with the wait lists and the retail jeweler games. Get the Rolex of your dreams today at Genesis Diamonds. And if you already have a Rolex and are interested in trading up, we also have Rolex buyers on site every day. Just another example of how we're forever changing the jewelry landscape here. Genesis Diamonds, official jeweler of the Tennessee Titans at Poplar and Perkins Extended.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
I'm Gary York. I'm the service director at Lexus of Memphis. Our service department wants to be more than just a place where you get your oil changed. We do glass repair, windshield replacement, recalibration of your camera and sonar systems, even wheel repair, tire replacement, all the things you would expect from a luxury automotive dealer. Please check out our website. You can schedule your appointment, check out our specials, hours of operation, or if you'd like to do it in person, please reach out to one of our associates at 901-271-5199.
I know the sweetest thing in Memphis, and I know it's been around for 120 years. You know, I'm talking about Dinstall's, and it's time to stock up heavy on Cashew Crunch, Heavenly Crunch, Turtlettes, all of your favorite Dinstall's treats to watch the playoff games and to watch all the basketball. It's so easy to get. The sweetest thing in Memphis, all you have to do is head to Laurelwood or head to Germantown and Poplar right across from the hospital, or go where they make the candies. That's on Pleasant View. There's nothing that says Memphis better than Cashew Crunch with that little tinge of coconut, or the Turtlettes. Let's face it, there's nothing better than Dinstall's chocolate. That's the mainstay of all candies, isn't it? Milk, chocolate, although their dark chocolate is pretty darn good. And if you get the peppermint with the dark chocolate and put it in the freezer, you're going to love it. So many ways to love Dinstall's. 115 years of making Memphis oh so sweet.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis, Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Joining Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan now on Sports Time is National College Football writer for CBS Sports, Memphis native and Tennessee grad, who you can find on Twitter X at David W. Cobb. It's David Cobb.
David Cobb joining us now. All right, David, let's get right into it with the biggest question of the day. Who is more back, Texas or Miami?
Oh, sorry, Jay, but Texas is more back. You're going to have to do more for me. You're going to have to do more for me than beat Texas A&M if you want to be as back as Texas is right now after winning in Tuscaloosa. And oh, by the way, that is an awesome intro that you guys queued up for me.
Or an awesome guest.
I like it, yeah.
Yeah, if you told me 10 years ago when I was interning at Sports 56 that I'd one day have that intro, I'd be like, what, are you kidding me?
Down the field. Y'all stole it from Yale.
Yeah, so anyway, great stuff there. I appreciate that. And, I'm not ready to go there with Miami yet, but Texas, let's do it. Let's go all in. The Longhorns are back.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm ready to go there. They pounded Bama. The score was not indicative of the domination, the prowess that they had over Alabama. They were better. I think they are a team that can be in that broad group of 10 that can make the 4 and maybe 6 that can win it all. Is it a bigger statement for Sark or for this SEC that I asked an hour ago, give me a gold star win through 2 weeks?
Yeah, what is going on with the SEC right now? I mean, it is the bleakest beginning to a football season.
Since the 80s.
Yeah, I was going to say, since I can ever remember. You say 80s, that aligns with what I'm saying because I wasn't even born until 92. And it's mind-blowing to see the SEC West in this level of turmoil through 2 weeks. We're talking about Alabama, LSU, and Texas A&M all already having losses on their ledger at this point in the season. It's amazing, and it makes me feel better about my preseason prediction of, hey, we're going to have 2 Big Ten teams in this college football playoff again, because it was hard to see the SEC West producing a playoff team, knowing that at the end of the day, whoever comes out of that division is going to have to play Georgia in the SEC championship game. And so now, whoever it is, unless Ole Miss runs the table or something, like we're looking at a team going into the SEC championship game from the West that's already going to have at least one loss and probably two, and you're probably only going to see one team out of the SEC in this playoff, and that, by the standards of this league, is substandard. And
I saw Tulane at the line of scrimmage give Ole Miss all it wanted.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but hey, kudos. I mean, you talk about the best win so far for the SEC. I mean, the Ole Miss win at Tulane probably got to be in the conversation. I mean, obviously Tulane's down a starting quarterback
and a linebacker.
But you go on the road though. In the only other game of the week involving two ranked teams, it was Texas and Alabama, two ranked teams. The only other game on Saturday with two ranked teams was Ole Miss and Tulane. So Ole Miss goes on the road, takes care of business against that ranked team, and somewhat convincingly, it was a close game, but to come out of there with a 17-point victory is impressive. So give Ole Miss their credit. I just hate the fact that Ole Miss has to go to Athens later this year. What a terrible year. When the SEC
you think
West,
you hate it.
I know. Yeah. When the SEC West has cleared for you, the Red Sea has parted, and this is the year you have to go to Georgia? Are you kidding me?
Just could have had last year's schedule this year, and I do think that's a game that was won Saturday by Ole Miss that last year they probably lose that game, David.
Yeah, I think you got to give Pete Golding some credit.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, probably one of the most maligned coordinator hires of recent memory. And most of that it comes from the Alabama people, right? Like they see him leave and go to another school within their division. They're going to chatter a lot about that. But Pete Golding had to kind of reclaim his reputation here, and Lane Kiffin believed in him because he knew him from – they actually had a pretty good nugget about this on the broadcast about how Kiffin knew Golding because he had been part of Golding's interview process at Alabama back when Kiffin was the offensive coordinator under Nick Saban. And so, Kiffin knew him, trusted him. He's been in the division, and it helped that he had a backup quarterback on the other side. But Kai Horton looked like a good player.
And sure did.
Yeah. He didn't look like a scrub by any means. So,
and they had a running back from Birmingham, from Huffman High. I mean, that's big-time high school football. And I said it on the postgame. You go through all those Tulane high schools, and that's the same names that feeds LSU.
Yeah, and obviously the continuity, they got a lot back defensively, Tulane did, and the continuity with the coaching staff there, Willie Fritz, the home field advantage. I mean, I can't imagine Gulman Stadium ever being more pumped up.
It was fun.
For a game. I bet it was. I bet that was awesome. I mean, in some ways, kind of like a Manning Bowl, right? Like down in New Orleans, Ole Miss going down there. Fun game. I'm sure being a part of that one was a special experience.
Texas the rest of the way. Do you think Alabama's pulling for Texas the rest of the way? Or if Texas kind of have the clunkers like we're kind of used to, what does that say about Bama then?
Right. Yeah, it's somewhere. I can't remember where. It must have been somewhere on our site at CBS. I know I wrote this at some point. Maybe I said it with you guys. I don't remember. But my take before the season was Texas will win at Alabama in week 2, but then somehow, some way, find a way to lose 2 Big 12 games later on. And, I mean, that's still conceivable, right? That is still within the realm of possibility.
At Baylor, Red River.
Yeah, exactly. And then, I mean, look, Kansas is no slouch. K-State, obviously. Look at TCU and Texas Tech. They're going to get their last best shot at Texas this year because who knows if or when they'll ever get another chance to play Texas. Maybe there's a bowl game opportunity down the road 15 years from now, right? But the days of playing the Longhorns every year are over for these schools, and that's a huge draw.
Great point. Baylor never sees Texas again after this year.
Yeah, and so you better believe that those schools are going to give Texas their best shot. But I think what stood out to me more than anything about Texas in that game against Alabama was the explosivity of the passing game and the fact that Quinn Ewers was able to dial up some beautiful throws over the middle, over the top, to a variety of different weapons. against an Alabama secondary that over the years has been among the best in college football. And so I think the Texas running game still has to get better, but another encouraging sign for Texas is that Quinn Ewers was not sacked in that game against Alabama. Jalen Milroe, who gets all the credit for being so elusive and so good with his feet, he was sacked 5 times by Texas. And so for the Texas offensive line to come out of that game without having allowed a sack in Tuscaloosa, that to me is as big of a deal as anything when it comes to maybe getting a read on what Texas could accomplish.
For Alabama, what is kind of the biggest concern for you through 2 weeks? I've seen a lot of people say different things: quarterback, receivers, offensive line, defense. I mean, what kind of stands out to you after watching? And I get it that first week, how much? Oh, I don't want to say that, Brett. But what's kind of the biggest concern for you through 2 weeks?
Quarterback play. I think a lot of people prematurely anointed Jalen Milroe after the Middle Tennessee game. And I think some people are being exposed for not actually having watched that game.
Yeah.
It's like, look, I don't blame you. I mean, if your team was playing at the same time Alabama was playing Middle Tennessee, you weren't going to watch that game. No. And that's one that's going to easily slip through the cracks in week one for a lot of people. But you look at the box score from Alabama Middle Tennessee, and you're like, oh wow, Jalen Milroe, he cemented his place as a starter. He had a good box score in that game. But if you actually watched Alabama and Middle Tennessee, you notice that a lot of the plays he made were off-platform, escaping the pocket, easy throws, and that he missed on the very few legit downfield sort of pocket throws that they drew up for him in that offense. And that obviously works fine against Middle Tennessee. It'll work fine this week against South Florida. But when you play against a really legitimate opponent like a Texas who does a great job of spying the quarterback and taking away the quarterback run, you've got to be able to stand in the pocket and make the defense respect your downfield passing game. And that is just not something that Alabama has with Jalen Milroe at quarterback. And it says something about that room, like we all expected and predicted when they went out and got Tyler Buckner from Notre Dame, that, hey, there's a problem here. If Jalen Milroe is the guy and Ty Buckner or Ty Simpson is not good enough to unseat him, there could be some issues at that position for Alabama. And to Milroe's credit, he bounced back and gave him a shot in the second half. But the two interceptions he threw were just crippling. Mm-hmm. They lost by 10 points, and those 2 interceptions led to 10 Texas points. You take away those interceptions, the ball game is totally, totally different. And if he's going to keep the grip and the hold on that job, he's got to take better care of the football, and he's got to show a little bit more comfort in the pocket.
Yeah, it was kind of a home run or nothing, or a dribbler back to the pitcher. It just wasn't any consistency to it. It felt like he was swinging for the fences with every play. We're visiting with David Cobb from CBS Sports, and David, I really don't. I'm not signaling the end for Coach Nick Saban, but everything does end, and there were times in that game that I thought back to after the football season of '81, New Year's Day '82, Alabama's playing Texas in the Cotton Bowl. It was a real close game, 14-12, and Texas had a quarterback, Robert Brewer, that stumbled 45 yards for the game-winning touchdown, and that was the beginning of the end for Coach Bryant. And one of these games will be the one that people go back to. And Bryant Dacus and I were talking before the show today. Saturday night felt different. That wasn't kick 6. That wasn't LSU loss. That wasn't Ohio State in the playoffs. That wasn't even Oklahoma when they were disinterested because they didn't make the playoffs because of kick 6. That wasn't Ole Miss in Oxford in 14 or Ole Miss in Tuscaloosa in 15. This one felt different.
Yeah, Nick Saban went a really long time without ever losing to a former assistant. And now over the last 3 seasons, it's happened 3 times with Texas A&M and Jimbo Fisher, the first to get it done, Kirby Smart and Georgia finally getting over that hump, and now Steve Sarkisian in Texas. And it hit me in the feels a little bit after that game, seeing Sark and Saban at midfield, and there was almost this look of pity on Steve Sarkisian's face as he greeted Nick Saban post-game, and it was just a dynamic that you're so unaccustomed to seeing, where it almost felt like there was sympathy and being imparted toward Nick Saban.
It was
Alabama.
Y.E. Yang beating Tiger in the PGA.
Yes, yeah, it was a scene that we haven't seen before. Yeah, and that struck me. The moment, the body language, the interaction there. I don't know what was said, but that's sort of a scene that's been replaying in my mind. And if we do look back at the Alabama-Texas game as a moment when the dynasty began to crumble, then that moment will sort of forever stay there in my mind. I do say and really believe that Nick Saban, though, will be able to continue having a lot of success at Alabama in the 12-team playoff era, because you can lose 2, maybe even 3 regular season games starting next season and still reach the almighty CFP. Mm-hmm. And so in that sense, it sort of gives him a new lease on life here in his 70s, because it's going to be easier to reach the threshold that a program like Alabama will be measured by. Yeah. So it's something to consider. Mm-hmm. But the days of Alabama dominating college football have been over for a couple of years now, and
it's Kirby's stage.
It is. That's why I voted Kirby number 1 in our CBS Sports coach rankings this year, even though Saban still edged him for number 1. Saban's the greatest of all time. Kirby Smart is the greatest of right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And David, in my life, I saw Nicholas top Palmer, I saw Watson top Nicholas, and then I saw the Tiger nuke everybody.
Yeah, and now we got Scheffler and Rahm and Rory and you know, who knows? But it's fun when there's a little more parity, and I like looking at the top 25 this week and seeing Florida State and Texas and USC in the top 5. I mean, you want to talk about a group of, are they back? I mean, those 3 right there, they've been absent from the party.
Everybody's back. The Cowboys are back.
That's right. I know.
Tennessee's back.
Right. Yeah, boy. Well, we can get into Tennessee. I don't know what went on there against Austin Peay, but yeah, they're more back than they've been in a long time, and that's true for a lot of schools right now. So I don't know. It makes it fun. I feel like we've got a nice sampling of parity at this point. Because look, I mean, Georgia has not looked overwhelmingly phenomenal. I mean, they've kind of struggled offensively against 2 inferior opponents here with a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator. Michigan has its share of issues with the run game. Harbaugh's been out, right? Like, I don't know. It just Ohio State's been totally underwhelming, I feel like, through 2 games. So it feels more open. It feels more open right now than maybe I expected it to.
Yeah, talking to David Cobb from CBS Sports, joins us every Monday afternoon to talk college football. I saw this morning or earlier this afternoon on ESPN that Cam Rising could be out another week. Kyle Whittingham in the press conference today said that if he can't go this week against Weber State, that Nate Johnson would start for them. Is it concerning to you that kind of we were thinking maybe doubtful, but maybe a game time decision for him in the week 1 game against Florida, and now we're getting into week 3 for a team that obviously Weber State this weekend, but you're about to get into Pac-12 play. We've talked about how good the Pac-12 should be and look so far through the season. Is it concerning to you that Cam Rising is still out?
It is, because it feels like in this day and age, the ACL tear is not nearly as serious of an injury as it used to be, in the sense that for whatever medical advances have been made, they've allowed athletes to return to the playing field much quicker. I mean, it used to be like a guaranteed 10 to 12 months, you're done sort of thing. And now you've seen players come back from that in 5 or 6 months in some cases. And so the fact that Rising is still behind schedule there is concerning. But Utah, I mean, for all that worry about Cam Rising, they're 2-0 against 2 Power 5 opponents. I mean, Florida and Baylor have issues, don't get me wrong, but over the last 5 or 6 years, this is typically where Utah has struggled. And they end up getting it together in the middle of the season, competing for the Pac-12 title. They've won the Pac-12 2 years in a row, but they haven't made the college football playoff because they've stumbled out of the gate. Well, this year, I mean, it wasn't pretty, but it rarely is with Utah. They're 2-0. So if they get past Weber State, maybe Rising comes back for the beginning of league play. And we're talking about a potential college football playoff team here, because the Pac-12, if you haven't noticed, is killing it right now. I mean, if Arizona had figured out a way to beat Mississippi State, and if Cal hadn't given away a game against Auburn, I mean, can you imagine the Feinbaum callers right now? They would be distraught. I mean, and it's already
it would be me on one of the lines calling Feinbaum.
I know, and it's already been a rough start for the SEC.
I need to start calling in shows.
Right,
yeah, you should. But no, it's I mean, I think the Pac-12. How fitting would it be if Utah or Oregon State even somehow found a way to crack the CFP in the final year before that whole thing dissolves?
As a consumer of the sport, I say fine. I would like SEC in it, but I'm going to enjoy it.
Yeah, it's been fun. I love seeing the Pac-12 be relevant again. Great quarterback play, fun coaches.
Just too little, too late for them. I mean, guys, y'all needed to stay together this summer.
Yeah, and Washington State is looking good too. My gosh, they just crushed a Wisconsin team that a lot of people had as a sleeper to sort of pull a Sonny Dykes from a year ago and have a great year one under a new coach in Luke Fickell up there with a fun offensive system run by Phil Longo. But the early returns from the Badgers have been bleak. So, yeah, the Pac-12 is 8 teams ranked this week, which ties the previous record, which has been set by the SEC on numerous occasions. But wow, I guess the ultimate thing here is that, like, yeah, the league is dissolving, but the teams and the programs aren't. 10 of the 12 are still going to exist in power conferences, and unfortunately for Oregon State and Washington State, they're going to have to find their way somewhere else. But it's just wild to see the league finally flourishing at this hour when the whole thing has already crumbled beneath them.
David, I say this Saturday for Tennessee at the House of Horrors for them at the Swamp again at Ben Hill Griffin against the Gators. Not just win, but they have to do it with an exclamation point.
Yeah, and it's crazy how Tennessee fans all offseason wrote a win at Florida in almost as an afterthought or as an assumption when it's been 2 decades since Tennessee's actually won in the Swamp. And guys, I've been down there covering Tennessee at Florida on a handful of occasions over the years. That's a really tough place to win, especially this time of year where it's so hot, it's so humid. The fans are going to turn out for this game, and Tennessee's got to be so much better than it was against Austin Peay to have a chance here in a game that most people have just assumed that they're going to win all off season. So I'm concerned, and maybe it's 2 decades of seeing Tennessee fall all over itself in games like this. But if they go out there and play like they played against Austin Peay, Florida's going to win the game. And you can kind of kiss the CFP and SEC championship aspirations goodbye.
Oh, that recalibrates a lot of things.
And I understand the skepticism on Florida. Like, it's certainly warranted. Like, they've got a long way to go under Billy Napier. But hey, a win over a top 15 Tennessee team would, I think, change the discourse in Gainesville quite a bit surrounding Billy Napier.
David, and probably the display of poorest judgment out there in the country right now, Mel Tucker, he's going to be out at Michigan State. What about Mark Stoops for that job?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it would be a fit. Mark Stoops would
Midwestern,
be a good fit.
tough guy, Youngstown, Ohio guy, knows the lay of the land, the job he's done at Kentucky. Michigan State, just the contract they gave Mel Tucker, they ought to give it to Arlington, Tennessee, right here in Memphis. They ought to give it to Kenneth Walker.
Yeah, exactly, no doubt. And the thing with the Michigan State Mel Tucker situation is that horrible contract could essentially be nullified if they're able to fire him with cause.
And they will.
Amid this investigation. And what does that do? It opens you up to be able to pay for a new coach.
That's true.
And that was the first thing that came to my mind. I mean, we're seeing more and more of this. Schools finding a reason to fire an underperforming coach with cause. If Mel Tucker were coming off of a college football playoff appearance, would there still be a hearing scheduled for next month about this allegation? No, but he's coming off of a 5-7 season, so of course they take these allegations very seriously. When they're coming off of a 5-7 season.
And David, when look, there's scandal in a lot of places. I tell people don't don't be too gleeful over today's, screaming headlines about somewhere else. It could be you tomorrow.
Oh, yeah.
But when the Big Ten and Michigan State in particular, when they do scandal, it gets freaky, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Yeah. And I tell you, it takes out a couple of other candidates, right? You're not going to go out and hire a Jeff Levy or a Kendall Briles for the Michigan State job. There's associations there that,
sure.
Anyway, Stoops would be great up there.
I like that one.
He would be a perfect fit. I'm a little concerned about Kentucky at the moment. I mean, they're still going to have their normal 7, 8, 9 win type of year. But boy, they were not good on Saturday against Eastern
and
Kentucky.
wasn't great against Ball State.
Mm-mm.
No, they weren't, and I'm surprised because I thought bringing in Liam Cohen as offensive coordinator with Devin Leary at quarterback would kind of jumpstart that offense because they got some actually, by Kentucky standard, pretty good skill talent around them. And so, anyway, they've been underwhelming to start. The entire SEC has, though. I mean,
sure is.
It's bizarre. I mean,
late 80s, I'm telling you.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, if you're awarding like best performances in the league so far this season, I think Ole Miss is probably the team that you're giving the award to through 2 weeks.
And Saturday was a good win. It was some kind of hot, and Tulane was laying and waiting.
Yeah, that was an opportunity for them to. Well, you think about it right now. Like if Tulane had beaten Ole Miss, we'd be kind of having that Cincinnati conversation from a few years back, right? A team coming off of a New Year's Six bowl victory out of the AAC. They'd be in that discussion right now. So, yeah, just I like what Ole Miss is doing so far. I mean, it's an improved defense, and they're 2-0, and they've scored over 100-something points. And Quinshon Judkins really hadn't even gotten going yet. So if he ever gets turned loose, I mean, look out. I mean, because he can obviously take them to a whole nother level.
Yeah, easily could. You're right about that. But hey, we're talking about how underperforming the SEC's been. Now we get some actual conference games starting this week, so that will be nice. We can see what they look like against conference opponents. But David, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll do it again next week.
All right, fellas, I appreciate it.
Thank you, David.
David Cobb from CBS Sports joining us every single Monday to talk college football. And here in a couple of weeks, we'll have to talk some college basketball with him as well once that gets started. But let's get to a break, and when we come back, we'll get to our Sissy's Log Cabin and look back at the SEC.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Spencer here with ATC Fitness. There's no better time of the year than now. Football and fitness go hand in hand in the fall. And with individual screens on each piece of cardio and multiple big screens throughout the rest of the club, you'll never miss a bit of the action watching your favorite team. ATC Fitness continues to be the Mid-South's choice for fitness, family-owned for 30 years, and proud supporters of Coach Silverfield and the Memphis Tigers. Join online at atcfitness.com. ATC Fitness, exercise your right to look good.
You or someone you know or care about has dealt with a difficult divorce. When facing divorce, you need the attorneys at Rice Law. Nick and Larry Rice lead the firm with 3 generations and 7 decades of experience. Located in Memphis, serving the entire state of Tennessee and North Mississippi. Rice Law is who you need to call. Simple or difficult divorce, they know how to handle it. Call Rice Law at 901-526-6701, or for more information, visit them at aboutdivorce.com. That's aboutdivorce.com.
Every business seeks an advantage, whether it's having the best location, hiring top talent, or spotting trends before they happen. And now, the United States Postal Service can give your business a new advantage. Introducing USPS Ground Advantage. Reliable and affordable 2 to 5 day package shipping. It's the advantage you need at the price you want. Get the Ground Advantage at USPS.com/advantage. The United States Postal Service, delivering for America.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets, with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli, with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Time for a look back at the weekend in the SEC. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies, with 9,000 square feet in Laurelwood. Let's go inside the SEC with Bryant, Brett, and Jay Morgan.
Chad Kelly in the gun formation. 3rd and inches for Ole Miss.
Carlton will kick it. It is on the way, and it is up.
Buck Bellew looking at it, going to pitch it to Herschel Walker, try to get him outside. He's going to get 5.
The snap is high. Kelly grabs it, wants to throw, fires it up in the air. Treadwell can't get it.
It is good! Oh, my!
Get a deflection is caught! Deflection is caught! And down the sidelines is Adebayo. He's to the end zone. He's in there. Touchdown, Ole Miss.
He's got 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. He needs a block. There goes Herschel. There goes Herschel.
And you can wrap this one in maroon and white, my friends.
Arkansas is headed to Atlanta.
The national champion is clad in big orange.
Good stuff, Jay Morgan Harder, and that Paul Eels call, when he screams it's good, I swear I think he was leaning back in his chair, and it tipped over the late, great Paul Eels. Well, Saturday started early, but ended late for Vanderbilt and Wake Forest. Vanderbilt was in that game. Too many turnovers. They lose 36-20 to Wake Forest.
Yeah, I mean, I mentioned it earlier, over a 2-hour delay to get the day started. In a game that was supposed to kick off at 10 a.m. our time, but didn't get kicked off. They did get kicked off, but really didn't get started until around noon. But for A.J. Swan, he shows a lot. You know, you see these flashes every single game so far through the season. And obviously 3 games for them because they played in week 0. But I just think he needs more time. 2 interceptions, costly interceptions against Wake Forest. I think there's something there. I just think he needs some more time. But yeah, they were in that game.
Yeah, Georgia, they win 45-3 over Ball State, and it looks like they picked right up where they left off from last year with quarterback play. No Stetson Bennett, but plenty good at quarterback for them with Carson Beck. He started a little slow, but picked up 23 of 30, 283, 2-0, but everybody in Western civilization had Georgia 2-0.
Do you think fans in Athens are complaining about these slow starts? Just of kind of that we're the best. Why are we struggling against UT Martin and Ball State early in games?
They probably are, but they shouldn't.
No.
Again, there are a lot of people well paid that should be worried about those things.
New quarterback, new coordinator.
I think fandom needs to just really dote on the good, but nationally, some don't. 28-17, Kentucky over Eastern Kentucky. It was uncomfortable all day for Mark Stoops' Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, they got down early, and it was just really back and forth. David Cobb mentioned that it was kind of made him a little nervous. It was a little uncomfortable from a Kentucky standpoint. I think for Devin Leary, I mean, coming in, obviously it's hard for a lot of guys to adjust to new systems, new places. I think we're seeing that with Devin Leary. But yeah, way too close for comfort in that game.
This week, Akron. Next week, Vanderbilt. So for Kentucky, that 4-0 start. And then Florida at home in Lexington for Mark Stoops' Wildcats. Ole Miss 37-20 in New Orleans at Ullman. It was a lot of fun. It was a well-competed game. Tulane, so well coached. Coaching clinic in space tackling. I mean, rear end low, head up, facing the player they're going to tackle. Fundamentally sound. Only 2 penalties all day for Tulane. 2 penalties, 10 yards, and they got both of those real late, really, after the game had been decided. But it was uncomfortable a lot of the day for Ole Miss before they pulled away and got that 17-point win. You just look at that score, you think, okay, easy. It wasn't.
Yeah, no, one at all. I didn't even know they had won by this much because at this point, I think with about 2 minutes left in the game, I flipped over. Tigers were starting, so I flip over to the Tigers game. I get home, my dad's like, yeah, would Ole Miss end up winning by 17?
Scoop and score.
I was like, no, they won by 10. And he was like, no, they won by more than 10. I hadn't seen it was so late in the fourth quarter when they scored that final touchdown, but you're right. It was scary early. I mean, Tulane came out with a backup quarterback. I thought Kai Horton was very physical. They were very physical. I thought Kai Horton, the backup quarterback for Tulane, looked really good in the start for Tulane. But for Ole Miss, you've mentioned a lot how physical Tulane was. Really couldn't get the run game going. For Ole Miss, you had Quinshon Judkins, 48 yards on 18 carries, 1 touchdown. You really just couldn't get that run game going. But you did see Jackson Dart, I thought, had a good game. You saw some
real good game.
I thought a real good game.
Competed his tail off.
Absolutely. And so, and I think got better as the game went on, which is huge in a game like this. And so I thought that was big to be able to rely on him when maybe you can't get that run game going like you wanted to. You can rely on that quarterback and some of those receivers that really stepped up.
I don't know if the U's back, but I know they smoked Texas A&M 48-33 in front of, and I'm being generous, half full Hard Rock Stadium. It just wasn't very many people there. It was zero atmosphere, and they put it on A&M. Tyler Van Dyke, 374 passing, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, and a pocket that was cozier than this studio.
Yep, just absolutely no pressure on him all night. And that, I mean, when we like to joke about Texas A&M, but one thing that they have made very clear is we have recruited at a high level, and we have recruited that defensive line at a high level.
We hear you, A&M.
We hear you. 5 stars all across that defensive line, all across that linebacker room. Just could not get any pressure on Tyler Van Dyke. And then on the other side, I mean, we knew both these teams were going to want to throw the ball. But Wegman, I like 2 interceptions you didn't really want to see from him in a big game against Miami, but Miami's defense made it tough for Texas A&M. I said it earlier. By the second half, this really wasn't much of a game.
10 Miami penalties, and they still win. Too shy of half 100. 48-33, the U gets the win over Texas A&M. This week, A&M plays at home against UL Monroe, and then next week at home against Auburn. There won't be many people. It won't be full at Kyle Field. It'll be a good crowd, but it will not be full, and they will not be happy with yet another ugly loss. Arkansas 28-6, uncomfortable a lot of the day in Fayetteville. I think running game trouble, offensive line potential trouble, and a real trap game this week for the Razorbacks. But they get the win over Kent State 28-6, and KJ Jefferson, he was good. The rushing game, the running game I talk about, they end up with 172 yards.
Sure.
But it was a lot of that gained in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, and when we knew Rocket Sanders wasn't going to play on Saturday, so I mean you're missing your star tailback back there. But
it's a 4-quarter game.
It's a 4-quarter game, and so a little uncomfortable for them. I definitely agree with that. But you look at that defense holding Kent State to less than 30 yards rushing is big. Only 200 yards total. It's just really trying to get that offense going. Maybe you get Rocket Sanders back this week, and you can really kind of see that full potential of that offense.
Not just because I have Tennessee in the college football playoff, but they win 30-13 over Austin Peay. I know everybody kind of worried about Joe Milton, worried about Tennessee now. They knew who they were playing, and they know who they're playing this week. Now, no excuses this time next week for Tennessee. I'm going to say not only you need to go to the Swamp and win, you need to win 3 touchdowns or more.
I think so. Yeah, I think we looked at the spread earlier this morning. I think it's at least this morning it was 6.5 for Tennessee. I think you've got to cover that if you're Tennessee in this game. But you talk about some of these uncomfortable games. This was one of them for Tennessee, and I think you're right. That's kind of what's so hard about the SEC early in the season.
I don't know that there's a gold star. Even in the potential gold stardom, It hadn't been easy.
No, but that's the problem around Power 5 college football is you start the season.
No, it just means more.
Yes, I mean, but you start the season with these FCS opponents, and I mean, I get it. We talk all the time about you can't get complacent. You haven't done anything to become. You haven't earned the right to be complacent. You know, you want to start the season strong. But these are 18 to 24-year-old kids. You really expect somebody for Tennessee to look across the field and say, oh, it's Austin Peay. We got to be ready. We got to be on our A game today. No, they're going to sit there and go, all right, cakewalk. It's going to be an easy afternoon. And so I figure that's what it's going to be. But because of how uncomfortable this was until late in the game, you got to show me this weekend down in the Swamp.
LSU wins 72-10 over Grambling. I think that speaks for itself.
Yeah.
Almost like Florida, 49-7 over McNeese. Another uncomfortable game, Mizzou, and they've got a really tough opponent this week. Is they host Kansas State this week. Mizzou's 2-0. Neither game really a great performance. They narrowly win over Middle Tennessee and Rick Stockstill 23-9 at home in Columbia.
Yeah, I think and good for MTSU. I mean, starting the season with 2 SEC opponents is really going to get that group prepared for conference play. But for Missouri, I mean, you just mentioned it. These first 2 games before this week, they have to play Kansas State. Next week, they've got to play Memphis and St. Louis. These should have been 2 very easy games that they should have taken care of, and they haven't done it for either. I mean, got away late last week. I think 130-13 was the final score of that one, but it was kind of a late touchdown to kind of get that distance. Against Middle Tennessee, wasn't comfortable. I mean, 23-19 is not comfortable. Now you've got Kansas State, like I said, Memphis the week after that. It's going to get tough here for Missouri.
South Carolina takes care of business 47-21 over Furman. Then it left the big 3 Saturday night games, the biggest game of the season so far, and it was the Texas really thumping of Alabama 34-24. Mississippi State taken to overtime at home, but they get the win against an Arizona team I think it's got 4 or 5 NFL players on it. They win 31-24. And Auburn in the cure for insomnia. Late game, late on Saturday night, 14-10 over California. In many ways, this was more pathetic offensively for Auburn than the old 3-2 win years ago against Mississippi State.
I mean, talk about an uncomfortable game. I mean, that one was
It looked – Justin Wilcox had a plan. You knew he would. And I don't think Hugh Freeze has the players to zig when the other coach is zagging.
No,
he just doesn't have them yet.
No, it's tough. I mean, it's first-year coach. You're going to go through that. I think you can make a case that it should be easier now with NIL, the transfer portal, everything going. But it's going to take a couple weeks to kind of get your team going. And so, I still don't want to say anything negative about Auburn until we see some SEC games, but that was very uncomfortable Saturday night. And then you mentioned Alabama. We've talked a lot about Alabama in this game against Texas. I did see this on Twitter after the game, talking about Jalen Milroe. A lot of people talking about his performance in that loss against Texas through 2 interceptions that weren't great interceptions against Texas. But you kind of look at it, had 3 drop balls by wide receivers that would have been big in that game. And then this was per Pro Football Focus. Milroe was pressured on 19 of 39 dropbacks, which is 48% pressure rate allowed by Alabama's offensive line, which is really high. And when you talk about Quinn Ewers on the other side, after the game, he looked like he hadn't even played yet. His jersey was so clean. And then Jalen Milroe is basically running for his life in the backfield. That's a big – and I understand not a lot of people talk about the offensive, defensive line play in these games because you immediately go to the quarterback. You immediately go to the running backs, the wide receivers. But, that is a huge factor in these games against ranked teams is what do those offensive and defensive lines look like?
Will Rogers, 13 of 17 for 2 or 3 scores? 3 scores. 3 touchdown passes. And I heard this morning on Dave's show, my friend John Thompson, he said he thinks Will Rogers is the best quarterback in the SEC. Remember the SEC media days? I wasn't advancing that. I was talking more kind of the lack of appreciation. Yeah. I don't think it's lack of respect for Will Rogers. Sure. Maybe a lack of appreciation. In many ways, this 13 of 17, buck 62, 3 touchdowns, more impressive than going out there and getting 5 for 400 yards and a loss.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I kind of, we've talked about this a lot and talked a lot about with everything, Mike Leach's tragic passing and everything. I think everyone was so low on this Mississippi State team, and I think Arizona's a really good team. I picked them to cover in this game against Mississippi State. And when you look, I think a lot of us got so blinded by the fact of your head coach suddenly passes away. There's a lot of tragedy around that program and everything. How do you respond to that? I mean, that's got to be so tough coming into the season. We forget that Will Rogers is an unbelievable quarterback, and they've got a great run game as well. So, I mean, I think and it's easy to forget when you talk about all of the tragedy that's gone on, but I think Mississippi State's going to have a good season.
We're up against the break. Really quick, both of y'all, what's the next game that adds to the signal, maybe the start of this is the end for Nick Saban? Jay Morgan, what's the next kind of kick point for that?
I guess whatever
the next loss is.
Yeah.
That's it.
I mean,
won't be to South Florida. At home against Ole Miss would really start it. Road at Starkville would start it. At Jimbo in College Station would get it going.
I think ideally it would be another home loss. But I think with what Texas A&M has shown and kind of all the talk around Texas A&M, if you lose to Texas A&M again, I think that raises a lot of alarms.
Next home loss and 2 or 3 5-stars reopening recruiting. I think that really gets it going. That's our look back at the weekend. Brought to you by Sissy's Log Cabin, the official jeweler of the Memphis Grizzlies. New location opening soon at 4542 Poplar. Bill Jones and his great team, they're here to stay. Some blow in overnight, and they kind of blow out overnight, not Sissy's Log Cabin. Here to stay, supporter of Tigers Athletics and sponsor of our look back at the weekend in the SEC on Mondays at 4:30. Mid-South's largest selection of one-of-a-kind jewelry, engagement rings, wedding bands, rings, necklaces, and earrings for that special time in your life. 9,000 square foot store in Laurelwood with expanded lines for Rolex, Cartier, diamonds, and much more. Since 1970, with 6 locations across Arkansas and Tennessee, Sissy's, they offer a selection of diamonds, estate jewelry, and fine gifts. Official jeweler for the Memphis Grizzlies and FedEx Forum with floor seat lounge. Unsurpassed value, exceptional service, expansive selection, and an extraordinary experience, because life's too short for ordinary jewelry.
Let's go ahead and get to a break, and when we come back, it'll be time for Big Number of the Day.
We are real sports talk. Sports 56 WHBQ. Available on your radio dial at 560 AM and 98.5 FM, as well as around the world online at sports56whbq.com. Take us with you everywhere by downloading the Sports 56 app. And at home, just say, Alexa, play Sports 56. Wherever you are, stay tuned in to Real Sports Talk. Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Moving is stressful, but Black Tie Moving can take the worry out of the process. Whether you're moving across town or across country, moving your home or your office, your personal moving concierge from Black Tie Moving will work with you to design a plan that perfectly fits your budget and needs. And they're available 24/7 to answer any questions you have. Give Black Tie Moving a call at 901-316-6196 or go to blacktiemoving.com/Memphis to get your personal, no-obligation quote from the moving experts at Black Tie Moving.
With Labor Day savings at the Home Depot, we have laundry appliances that just fit. They'll fit your space, fit your needs, and with extra large capacity, Samsung laundry pairs can fit more loads in less time. Plus, with free delivery on orders of $396 and up, you won't have to worry about fitting your new laundry pair in the back of your car. Final days to get up to $700 off select appliances, like Samsung, only at the Home Depot. How doers get more done. Pricing valid 8/24 through 9/13, U.S. only. See store or online for details.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians Restorations are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
At Grainger, we're for the ones who pay attention to every little detail. The ones who fuss, tinker, and sweat the small stuff. Because you know the tiniest thing can make the biggest difference when it comes to keeping business moving. We get it. We're the same way, offering access to product experts to help you quickly and easily find what you need. So whatever your industry, you know you're always getting professional-grade products. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
A good friend of mine often says that golfers are the best athletes. This is Sheldon Rosengarten with Marks Bensdorf Realtors. Now, I don't want to embarrass Ed by mentioning his name, but if you stop and think about it, he may be right. Just like the best real estate agent may not be who you think. Like a left tackle in football, a golfer hits it hard off the tee. Like a sprinter, the golfer walks down the fairway to reach his ball. Then like a quarterback who wants to connect with a distant target, the golfer hits the ball again, and in my case, again and again and again. So if you or someone you know is thinking of selling a home, draft your team by interviewing the players. Find out who will block that offensive lineman from knocking your deal down. And find out about the Shellbucks option play. When interviewing, call or email me to find out why people often say, when you want the job done, call Shell Done. You can reach me at 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. That's 483-0546 or memphisrelocate.com. Do it now and don't fumble that ball.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Big Daddy.
Hello, Big Brand. It's a guy, he wants to be big, then he gets big, he doesn't want to be big anymore, then he gets small, but the suit's too big.
Big Daddy.
The big boy.
You're a big guy. I think she's trying to pull a fast one on Big Daddy.
The big number of the day.
Brett, I got some news for you. I don't know if you know this, but the Cowboys won their first football game.
I did know.
And they're going to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
And I think every single starter, both offense, defense, heck, even throw the special team guys. And, well, I don't know. Our new kicker did miss it. Whatever. They're all going to the Pro Bowl this year. I don't know if you've heard.
I heard parade route already being drawn up.
I guess they can't go to the Pro Bowl if they're in the Super Bowl. So it'll be known that they were all going to be the starters for the Pro Bowl. You're right, parade route already
ring sizes
set up. Yeah, I think after the game they got those as well. The team that scored the most points so far in Week 1 of the NFL.
It's kind of the Deion reaction.
I mean, it really is. The only team to pitch a shutout so far through Week 1 this year. But,
one of the defensive players said we're back. Everybody's back.
I mean, everyone's back, especially the Cowboys. But I did see this stat last night after the game. 2 is my big number. The Dallas Cowboys become the second team in NFL history to record a 40-plus point shutout and at least one offensive, defensive, and special teams touchdown in a season opener. The other team to do this was the 1920 Akron Pros against the Wheeling Stogies, who they beat 43-0. Another to add on to the 40 points, the Cowboys became the first team in NFL history poor Stogies. Dallas Cowboys became the first team in NFL history to open a season with a 40-plus point shutout win over a team that made the playoffs the previous season. So a great first win for the Cowboys.
1-0, Jay Morgan.
According to Elias Sports Bureau, my big number today is 79. The last time the Giants' opponents scored 2 non-offensive touchdowns to start a season was 1944, 79 years ago.
That's right. That is right. Let's go, Cowboys.
I don't see anything stopping them.
I don't either.
Except for maybe Kansas City sobering up and getting the deal with Chris Jones.
Prove it to me first, Kansas City.
1-year deal, though.
Yeah. That does worry me a little.
He's in, but they're going to keep negotiating for the big deal. My big number is 98. Nick Saban, after his first 98 games at Alabama, I know he'd been at Toledo. I know he'd been at Michigan State and LSU, but after his first 98 games at Bama, he was 83-15. Kirby Smart, now 98 games in at Georgia, 83-15.
Whoa. Well, I mean, God.
That was Kirby's first head coaching job.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I just don't know what to say. I really don't. That's impressive. It's incredibly impressive.
It is, and it's part of the passing of the baton.
I don't want to. I just don't.
It's been passed.
It has been passed.
It gets passed with national championship trophies.
It makes me sad. But it's just. I mean, that loss. We've said it a couple of times.
It was different.
That loss on Saturday felt different.
It did.
His post-game press conference where he is talking about how great the University of Alabama is and how it's still a great place for fans and players to come. It just felt different. I mean, everything about Saturday
this
night.
Assistant coaching turnover has finally kind of caught up.
And you knew it would.
And Kirby Smart being one of the key players there, and Scott Cochran.
Yes, but I mean, I don't think you could sit here and, I mean, the record was great, never been beaten by an assistant, but you could not sit there and say that the amount of great assistants that Nick Saban has gone through that have now become head coaches, that none of them were ever going to beat him. I mean, that's just ridiculous. I get it. He's the greatest coach of all time. He's an unbelievable coach, but he knows how to hire football minds, and he doesn't just hire a random assistant coach and propel them to get a head coaching job at a school that is going to be playing the University of Alabama. I mean, these are good football minds, great football coaches, and so you knew it was going to catch up to him eventually. I just don't know if we thought it was going to happen where it would finally happen, and then it would kind of steamroll into what it's now become.
And Texas was dominant. It wasn't. It shouldn't have been as close as the final score indicated. That it was dominance on both sides. Alabama offensive line, again, a mess.
Yeah.
The secondary, the greatest secondary coach in the history of the sport is Nick Saban.
Yeah.
And the secondary is a mess.
Do you think...
So Pete Golding, I mean, for all the blame he got.
Yeah. Do you think I guess everybody, focused too much on the quarterback position this offseason instead of paying attention to...
It was a cry for help. It was Alabama telling everybody, pull the fire alarms when you have to go get a quarterback after the A-Day game.
That's true. That's a good point. But, I mean, I just feel like everybody was talking about and I think it's become everybody in the offseason was talking about the quarterback and who's going to be the quarterback. You have options. You went out and got a transfer. Who's going to be the quarterback? That everybody was focusing on the quarterbacks, and now people want to blame it's only the quarterback. But now we're seeing, there's issues here. There's issues there. There's issues here. I think maybe if there wasn't this quarterback controversy that went through the entire offseason, maybe we would have noticed some of these other holes in their team.
Yeah, that really did mask it.
Yeah, I think it did. And it wasn't a good mask. I mean, it's still a lot of people were saying there could be issues because of this, but I think it masked as, okay, this is the big problem. They need a quarterback. Who's going to be that quarterback? And you didn't see all the holes everywhere else. So
turning 72, Kirby passing Alabama and Coach Saban, it had to start at some time.
I mean, you knew it would happen. And who knows? I mean, Alabama could very well turn this thing around and, sweep the conference and be right back there. I mean,
2 weeks from now, announced today, the 2:30 CBS game will be Ole Miss against Alabama, and we'll come on there at 12:30 that day. And 2 years ago, he put one on Lane Kiffin and Ole Miss.
Sure did. So, I mean, yeah, that's where you start in the SEC play, and that could start kind of that turnaround for them this year. But that'll do it for our second hour. Let's go ahead and get to a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the Tigers, their first 2 weeks of action, what to expect Thursday night against Navy. Jonah Dillon, the beat writer for the Memphis Tiger football team for the Commercial Appeal. He'll join us next.
I'm with John Burgos from the world-famous Rendezvous in the Alley since 1948.
Brett, we have catered parties all over this country and all over the world, from Singapore, Australia to Central Park in New York, but many people don't realize how much we do locally. For holiday events, office parties, tailgating, birthday parties, you can't do better than the Rendezvous. For example, you can get a cheese and sausage tray for 15 to 300 people for $3.75 a person. You can even build your own nacho bar for $10.50 per person. All you need is a minimum of 15 people. In many cases, we can arrange delivery and full-service catering. We've even made it easy to get to-go items. You could just park at our front door in the alley, put on your flashes, and we'll get you going ASAP. For all your catering items and prices, go to hogsfly.com, click on menu, and drop down to catering.
Thank you, John. The Rendezvous, Mr. Charlie Virgos' Rendezvous in the alley since 1948 and celebrating its 75th year.
Simple, smooth, and every sip as easy as the last. Tito's handmade vodka tastes just as good with tap water as it does with your favorite mixer. Back in the day, Tito distilled, hand-bottled, taste-tested, sent to a few friends, then taste-tested again to give you the finest juice around. No frills, no flavors, no fancy labels, just the good stuff. Just Tito's. For recipes, videos, and more, visit Tito'sVodka.com. Distilled and bottled in Austin, Texas, 40% alcohol by volume, namely 80 proof, crafted to be savored responsibly.
Hi, this is Troy Fiveash, owner of Fiveash Roof Services. If you need a new roof for your home or business, we hope to hear from you and will work hard to earn your business. We are experts and certified in residential and commercial roofing, siding, and gutter installation. I have been serving the Memphis area for over 20 years, and now with two of my sons working with me, we plan to be here for years to come. So if you need a roof, please give us a call. On a personal note, what a great time it is to be a Memphis sports fan. With the Grizzlies and the Redbirds and 901 FC, not to mention Tigers football and basketball, it's going to be a fun year. Thanks to Coach Silverfield and Coach Hardaway and their staffs for their dedication to the student and athletes, the University of Memphis, the City of Memphis, and us fans. Five Ash Roof Services, a proud partner of the Memphis Tigers and the official roofer of the Tigers home team. Five Ash Roofing, fair, honest, and ethical. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com. 367-0050 or memphisroofer.com.
Five Ash Roofing, it's what we do. We're here for you.
It doesn't matter if you're at the lake, if you're hunting, fishing, playing golf, or just playing around, Scooters Plus can hook you up with the mobility that you need. Scooters Plus has the largest vehicle and parts inventory in the Mid-South and the best service department. You can choose from ATVs, UTVs, golf carts, motorcycles, dirt bikes, trikes, scooters, and even electric bikes. Come in today to start or wrap up your holiday shopping with 25% down on Christmas layaways. Scooters Plus, 3425 Summer Avenue. Call Sam at 458-8843 or go online to scootersplus.us.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. Choate's is offering some amazing specials for this month only. If you're considering upgrading your furnace before the cold weather comes, Choate's is offering $1,000 off a new Carrier furnace. If you don't need a new furnace, Choate's is now offering its early bird $60 furnace tune-up. This 22-point tune-up includes a free carbon monoxide test and heat exchanger inspection. And Choate's is your indoor air quality expert. For the best quality air for you and your family, it's recommended to have your air ducts cleaned every 8 years. This month only, Choate's will install a free UV light system when you get your air ducts cleaned, a $500 value. Call us at 347-8086 to take advantage of these amazing deals. So, turn to the experts with Choate's, and remember, let our family serve your family.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
Listen each and every Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and join Ottawild Presbyterian Church for worship. Ottawild is a PCUSA church located in Midtown Memphis.
We are Sports 56, WHBQ Memphis, and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations.
Oh, yeah.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn, Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Welcome back into Sports Time. Bryant Dacus, Brett Norsworthy, Jay Morgan Harder with you live from the Family Leisure Studios. We talked some Tigers earlier this afternoon, but we really got to get into the Tigers. And Jonah Dillon from the Commercial Appeal, he's your Tiger football beat writer. He joins us now to talk about the football team. Jonah, thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to Memphis. How have you been enjoying it so far?
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here. I've loved it so far. It's been about a month and a half since the season started. It feels like it's a sprint now, and I'm excited to kind of get into it.
It comes fast and furious, Jonah, and it's always plenty of content in this area. I know you want that, and one of the intriguing things about coming into this market and accepting this job with the Commercial Appeal, we're so glad to have you, and we're really glad to have you on. And this week, it really comes fast and furious, as tomorrow is kind of already Thursday in a normal week.
Yep, that it does, and it's changed up my planning. Things like everything's got to be done quicker. There's more condensed availability, and obviously, the team they've got to prepare on the short week, but they've got to prepare for the triple option offense. So this is about the most difficult, quick turnaround you could have, I think, at least in the conference, right? So it's an interesting time, but there's definitely a lot to deal with.
Got a pretty good book on the triple option in that football building with this staff facing them all these years. But what I would like to know, Jonah, do you know who is simulating for the scout team being the quarterback for Navy?
That's a great question. I don't know. There hasn't been any this week. There's no practices that are open to media because of the condensed week. So I'm not sure. That's a great question.
Because you've got to get a good read from that. In your scout team quarterback this week, I mean, you've got to show us something.
Yeah, you've got to figure out. It's all different, and the thing that's interesting also is, they have a new coach. So Brian Silverfield was talking this morning and saying, there are some things they're doing that are different, right? So there's still the triple option. You got to prepare for everything you've had to prepare for the past couple of years, but there are a couple of wrinkles that they've seen from the first two games, and so there's a couple other things that are kind of mixed in there that they also have to think about with this offense.
So going into week 3, through these first 2 weeks, I understand it's Bethune-Cookman and an Arkansas State team that just hasn't looked great through 2 games. But what are some things that have jumped out to you about this team?
Yeah, the defense. I think you got to start with the defense. 3 points allowed in 2 weeks.
It's incredible.
So it doesn't matter who you're playing. I mean, that's really impressive. And the way they've done it has been impressive, especially the first week. They held Bethune-Cookman under 100 yards. That was great, but they said we want to get some takeaways. So they went out there in Jonesboro on Saturday, and they did that, and a pick six and 4 takeaways overall. So they kind of, got both things in those 2 games. And they did really as well as you could expect them to do, right? I mean, 3 points in 2 games is pretty good. We'll see how much that continues. You got this Navy game, and then obviously the next stretch after that is when you kind of get into the real meat of the schedule.
Did you scratch off a new state covering a game in Arkansas?
I did. I've been scratching off a lot of new states recently.
Deal.
I think, I have been. So our next trip is obviously to St. Louis. So I've been to St. Louis when I was a little bit younger. UAB in Birmingham, Alabama. That'll be a new state for me as well. So got a couple exciting ones coming.
I got a new one Saturday, scratching off Yeoman at Tulane, and I absolutely love being there. I'm big into scratch-offs, Jonah. I like new teams, new cities, new stadiums, and new bowl games. I like all that.
Yeah, we had a good time. I mean, I think the stadium up in Jonesboro was really nice. It was a really
great working press box.
Press box was great. Obviously, fans, they don't care about that. They're interested in the game and everything around it. But it was a cool area. It was a cool stadium. Obviously, the game wasn't super competitive, but it was a good trip.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Jonah, what have you thought about this this run game, kind of this duo that we kind of started to see form in that first game against Bethune-Cookman? Blake Watson and Sutton Smith. Then you throw Jay Ducker in there coming back from injury in the last game, getting a couple of touches. I know some people maybe a little concerned after week 2 about this run game with only 150 yards, but your leading rusher is with only 51 yards. What do you think about these running backs?
Yeah, it was very different because the first game we came out of it, and a lot of people were like, okay, they fixed it. The running game is back. They've got 2 guys who both look really good. They both did different things in that game against Bethune-Cookman. And Sutton Smith, obviously, when he rushed for over 100 yards, that was the first time a Tigers running back had done that in almost 2 years. And that was a good one to kind of scratch off to say we don't have to talk about this anymore. And then what was interesting on Saturday was the running game obviously especially struggled in short yardage situations, which is something that Ryan Silverfield was really unhappy about and talked about after the game. Blake Watson, though, he got 20 carries.
Yeah.
And that's a lot, especially throughout the offseason. We talked a lot about how is this going to look? How is who's going to get the most carries? And is there going to be a bell cow running back? Is it going to be a committee? And the first week, it seemed very clear that Sutton Smith and Blake Watson were both doing different things, but they were both going to get a lot of carries. And Sutton Smith still played a pretty big part on Saturday, but to give a guy 20 carries, regardless of if it's going well or not, that kind of made me think like, he's the guy. He's the number 1 running back, and they want to get him the ball a lot.
Jonah, in this modern football, I think you have no chance. Not only just with a kind of average to pretty good quarterback, the guy kind of tailback tight end offense gets you in a good play. I think you have to have a rainmaker. You have to have magic man, and I think the Tigers that they have one, and you have to have a quarterback that is better than the other team's quarterback on paper the rest of the year. 1 or 2 maybe slight advantages for the opponents the rest of the year, but there's nothing drastic, and not even Mizzou with Cook and Tulane with Pratt is I don't know that they're that much better, if at all. Do you think Seth Hennigan stacks up well, not only in this conference but around college football?
Yeah, I think he really does. I think you got to circle the Tulane matchup with Pratt, because Tulane is going to be the measured stick team for Memphis this season. That game is going to tell us the most about how good this team can be. We'll see. Obviously, I know Tulane, they lost last weekend, but Pratt didn't play. We'll see what happens with them going forward. But I think they expect him to be one of the 3 best quarterbacks in the AAC. And Michael Pratt, he's the best. People would say he's probably the best quarterback in the conference. He's getting national recognition. And there's no reason why the best quarterback in the AAC shouldn't be considered one of the best quarterbacks, top 10, top 15, whatever, in the country. And I think the thing with Seth Hennigan is he's been the quarterback for 2 years, right? This is his 3rd year. It's the same system.
It's his time.
That's rare. It's his team. That's rare. There's a lot of new options, guys around him. There's new receivers. We're expecting the running game to get better. So the question is, how big of a step can he take forward at this point in his career with all of that understood? And I think the sky's the limit. I think he really can improve a lot this season. And obviously, if he's going to take that kind of a step, the Tigers are probably going to have a pretty good season.
Yeah. Well, speaking of quarterback, the wide receivers, a lot of new faces this year for the Tigers. And really through these first 2 games, I've been trying to kind of watch and see who kind of sticks out as maybe that go-to weapon for Seth Hennigan. Do you have any candidates yet through 2 games that you think it could be? I really thought it was going to be Rock Taylor after that first week, and it really still could be. But then last week you get a little Tosky Dove. He gets into the end zone with one catch, with a big catch. You're seeing a little more Joe Skates as he gets back from injury. Who do you think could be that kind of go-to receiver this year?
Yeah, I think Demir Blankenship is a guy who you would definitely want to put on that list, because he's a guy who can do a lot of things. He can kind of be a possession wide receiver. We saw Tosky Dove. He had 1 catch. It was a 52-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. You want guys who can make big plays. You also want guys who can make, have 6-7 catches a game. And I think Demir is a guy who they want to get the ball to a lot. Maybe, it's not we're going to get on the field every time. Let's get 5-6 yards here. I think he's going to have a lot of catches. I think what I thought was interesting is Anthony Lancer, the tight end. He had 4 catches on Saturday, and there were a couple times on 3rd down situations where you could tell that Seth Hennigan was looking for him. And that's a big sign, right? Because on third down, you've got to convert. Who's your security blanket? Who's the guy that you're going to look for right away? I can get 4 yards, in the middle of the field with this guy. So we'll see how that develops. Obviously, he's a starter this year after Caden Prieskorn left after last season, but tight end is a position that's really important in Memphis and has been for the past couple of years, and he's kind of the guy right now. So I think he's gonna continue to take that step as the season goes on. But then again, he threw to a bunch of different receivers in both games. Even we're sitting there up there trying to figure out, okay, who's going to get the most catches, and then you look at the box score and it's like 4 catches, 4 catches, right. 3 catches, 3 catches. So maybe he's got a guy in his mind, but he's not letting us know yet.
And Jonah, now with NIL and the portal kind of always open, the term, you really got to feed a lot of guys to keep them all happy and not one eye on maybe one wandering eye possibly wanting to transfer. You gotta feed a lot of guys.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys on this offense, right? You got guys coming in as transfers, with guys who have been in the program a couple of years and they're ready to take the next step. That's what happens when you lose so many guys after last season. It's an opportunity for so many people now to step up to say, okay, there's 4 or 5 positions open for me, so I'm going to go get one. Mm-hmm. And you use these first couple of weeks to kind of figure out, okay, this guy's done well during training camp, but let's see how he performs in an actual game. Yeah. And that's what we've kind of seen the first couple of weeks. But, we could be looking back in a couple of weeks and the wide receiver pecking order could be completely different.
Absolutely. We're talking to Jonah Dillon, the Tiger football beat writer for the Commercial Appeal. Kind of going over to the defensive side of the ball, one guy that I was really excited to see in action this season is Simeon Blair, the transfer from Arkansas, obviously coming over after being a captain for Arkansas on that defense. And I thought he's made some pretty good plays through these first 2 games, recovering a fumble, a handful of tackles in the last game against Arkansas State. How much does he bring on the field, but then also kind of from that leadership, being a captain at an SEC school, coming in as an older guy from the transfer portal? How much does he add to that defense?
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. They've talked about it all offseason, both of those, on the field and off the field. On the field, Ryan Silverfield said he should be one of the best defensive backs in the country, right? And he came from being a captain in Arkansas, and you can see, just watching the first couple of weeks, you can see his level of talent and how good he is. Off the field, he's really important. I mean, he's a leader on that team. To be voted a captain coming in new this season shows you how quickly the other guys in that locker room kind of took to him. And it makes sense, right? You come in with that pedigree, you're a captain at Arkansas, and you come here and you say, I know how it's done in the SEC. I know how to kind of make it happen in that sense. And they've been really impressed with him. I think he's a guy that's going to pop up more as the season goes on and is going to be really important in both of those facets for this team.
Jonah, in all the preseason predictions at this radio station, around town, everybody was pretty much settled in low side 8. I don't know of anybody that went down to 7. A lot falling in at 9. I did, and in the spirit of full disclosure, I did last year as well in all those giveaway games, those narrow losses that really should have been wins, but they weren't. So I was at 9 last year. I was at 9 this year. When you took this job, you knew there was a number for Ryan Silverfield. How comfortable do you think he is through 2 weeks in this early part of the season? And that number, it will hang out there until he gets to it or eclipses it.
Yeah, I think so far so good, right? I mean, the season has started off pretty much as well as you could expect it to. Blowout wins over teams that, respectfully should have been blowout wins. Mm-hmm. But you got to go out and play the team, and anything can happen in college football. So I think it's going well so far. We're going to see in the next couple weeks, we're really going to start to see where this team is. And I think the momentum is going to be a really important thing throughout this season, right? So we've got Navy coming up, and we'll see them here in Memphis on Thursday. And then the next 3 games after that, Missouri, Boise State, and Tulane. Those are all difficult games. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's the kind of thing where those games are all winnable, right? Memphis could win all 3 of those games. Absolutely. And I don't think it would be stunning, right? But at the same time, those are good football teams, and they can win those games as well. So if you lose 3 games in a row, it's very difficult to turn that around. Now, it can obviously be done, but the other part of it is that's the beginning of the schedule. Those games are difficult. If you get through that, let's say you go 2-1 or 3-0 in those games, that gives you a lot of confidence and momentum going into the back half of the schedule when there are easier games there. So it's going to be really interesting to see where this team is after that stretch. That's going to be obviously the halfway point of the season. There's a bye week in there. And then I think we'll have a pretty good sense of what the trajectory is for this team, because obviously, as you guys know, people want to see improvement, right? 6-6 regular seasons the last 2 years. People want to see something better. You know, if 8 wins is the benchmark, then you've got to put yourself on the right path, and it starts, during that stretch.
Big one on Thursday night, but we're not coaches. We can look ahead. I know the coaching staff, all they're thinking is the Navy on Thursday night. But then that trip to St. Louis that I think is free shot at Mizzou, then home against Boise, open date, home against Tulane. If after the Tulane game there's just one loss, this place is on fire.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's really, it's ecstatic.
Yeah, and I think it depends on how competitive you are in those games, right?
Yes.
And the thing is, you guys know this obviously much better than I do, but last season, the close games, right, going 0-4 in one possession games, people are going to be unhappy. So
that's the caution.
But if you see losses in close games, there's probably going to be a sense of, oh man, here we go again, right? Mm-hmm. But if you win a close game and you prove that you can execute down the stretch, you can figure out how to kind of make it happen in that situation, then suddenly people are like, okay, well, maybe this has actually been turned around. Maybe something is different about this team, like they've been telling us through these first couple of weeks and in the off season. So, if they go and win a close game, they go to St. Louis and win a close game against Missouri, people are going to start to, turn their heads and say, okay, well, this is true. Everything they're saying, they are turning it around.
Tell you what that Mizzou game is. If the Tigers win that one, and the kickoff time announced today for 6:30, and I don't know the travel plans. I don't know if they're busing or they're flying, but whatever it is, if the Tigers win that game, that's one of those, Jonah, that when they get back to town, it gets around on social media around town. Hey, welcome the team back to the building at 11:45 or 1:30 or whatever time in the day is. That would be how significant beating Mizzou and the SEC would be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it would be cool to see that. And yeah, I mean, obviously, this is my first year on the beat. I'd love to see the way that the fans interact with the team. Even the first week against Bethune-Cookman, I got there early for the Tiger Walk, and that's 2.5 hours before the game, and there were a lot of people there. They were excited, and I was kind of thinking, okay, people are really going to show up this early, but they were all there. They were excited. And you can tell people are, they want this team to be good. They want it to be turned around.
They sure do.
Mm-hmm. And like you said, a win like that, that's kind of a statement of intent. It's not a conference game, but yeah.
In this modern era that everything's so darn expensive and the TVs and the flat screens and all that at home.
Sitting on the 50-yard line at home.
Tiger fans aren't any different than anybody else. If they win, they're going to support them. If they don't, they're going to be lukewarm about it. Tell me the temperature. Tell me all the dynamic around it. They're not any different than anybody else, Jonah.
Right, and that's the thing. At this point in the season, right, all you can do is beat the team in front of you. You're 2-0, and there's no reason not to be excited. So that's it's interesting to see, obviously, where they go from here. But it makes complete sense, and that's why it does feel like this season is important, though, right? Like, because you're coming off of those last 2 seasons, this one feels like there's something about it where finally this needs to be turned around, and people are not only it needs to be, but people are expecting, like, this team is good. They have improved at these positions. The schedule is easier, and this is a year where they can really do something.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, last thing for you, Jonah, before we let you go, we've talked a lot. Short week for the Tigers against a Navy squad that's difficult to prepare for because of the offense they run. What are some things you're looking forward to Thursday night, some things that you want to see out of the Tigers in week 3?
Yeah, well, I think continuing with the defense, how obviously it's kind of hard to judge because you're going up against an offense that's completely different than what they've seen so far. But continuing with just stopping basically everything the other team has done. I mean, Navy is an improvement in terms of talent over the last couple teams that the Tigers have seen, but it would still be an important step. So I think that's one thing. And then, like we talked about on the offensive side of the ball, I mean, who is standing out as the receivers for Seth Hennigan? Who is he targeting the most? Who's making the most important catches? Who's making the plays on third down conversion? So we can kind of see going forward the rest of the season who are going to be those main targets.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I think it's going to be an interesting game on Thursday, that's for sure. But, Jonah, thanks so much for joining us, and we're glad to have you here in Memphis.
And let's do it again.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Jonah, keep up the great work. Yeah. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
You got it. Jonah Dillon with the Commercial Appeal on the beat, covering all things Tigers. And like you said, great start.
Yeah, and we've mentioned that, but I mean, that's
the
what
start we expected.
The one we expected, but the way they have done it, the way they've gotten the job done, is I think what you wanted to see against the opponents they had in week 1, week 2.
There hadn't been anything resembling a uh-oh moment. Not even close.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I guess you could say one of those early interceptions against Bethune-Cookman, but it wasn't that long. It was like, oh, man, an interception. But then you immediately get back going, and you're comfortable. There hasn't been that moment yet.
Every mistake so far, and it hadn't been many, but the mistakes made so far have all been you can learn.
Right.
You can correct things from. It hadn't been anything.
Oh, early mistake. They'll get that worked out.
Yeah, that could cost us a game before the year's over. This hour of our show brought to you every day by Hewlett and Dunn Boot and Jean on the historic square in Collierville since 1961. Laura and Charles Hall, they own the place. Charles Hall started working there in his teens, and now with his wife Laura, they own the place, and it's known for all the boots, but also clothing, accessories, and a cap for any team in any season.
Well, and they have Western wear, but you talked about the boots. They have work boots, safety toe or soft toe, and rubber boots. Boots for every occasion at Hewlett and Dunn. From head to toe, they have you covered with every brand imaginable. Ariat, Dan Post, Anderson Bean, whether for men or women, they've got you covered.
They got men's and women's clothing, jeans, pants, shirts, shorts, outerwear, and the best duckhead collection you'll find. Charles and Laura Hall, they invite you to 111 North Center Street or to hewlettdunn.com on the square in Collierville.
Hats, sunglasses, boot care products in every area, team snapbacks, cool hats you can think of. The Tigers, State, UT, Ole Miss, the Razorbacks, any team regionally around here, they've got you covered, so you got to make sure to get over there. And if you're going to a game, going somewhere out of town, their travel bag selection is top notch. So make sure, get over to hewlettdunn.com, but also visit them. Say hello at 111 Center Street on the square in Collierville at Hewlett and Dunn.
The Navy game on Thursday night. Not going to get too much into crowd. Whatever happens. I will get into this. 3-0, it sells tickets to people wanting to go to St. Louis and pay back for the whatever that jive was in the contract with Mizzou.
Oh, yeah. No, I think you go out against Navy, you take care of business, and you put out a similar performance like you did in week 1, week 2. I think there is a ton of excitement about that game. I think a lot more people say, let's go up to St. Louis because they could very well win this game.
The Memphis Tigers were more preparation for that game than Mizzou.
Yeah.
Mizzou's got a really tough one this week at home in Columbia against Kansas State, and the moments, they've had them.
They definitely have. And you're right. I mean, they who knows what happens this weekend against Kansas State, but that's a tough game to play right before playing Memphis and St. Louis. And for the Tigers, kind of the extra time and more preparation.
I almost said something else instead of the moments. And there's a play out there now in football that everybody's running that's the blank play.
I believe it.
It's when you fake kind of the screen to one side and you turn real quickly.
Yes.
And all the offensive coaches and the defensive coaches call it the blank play.
I love that. That's a great name for it. But no, I think there's already excitement building for the Missouri game in St. Louis. But you're right. You go out, take care of business on Thursday, win convincingly against a Navy team, and I think that excitement just starts to grow. And like you said, I think more people are willing to make that trip up to St. Louis to watch the Zoo in the Lou in a couple of weeks. But let's go ahead and get to a break. And when we come back, we'll get to our Ruth's Chris Monday Night Football preview.
Add a little fun to your lunch break. Join Johnny Radio for Sports 56 Happy Hour from 11 to 1 every weekday on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Chris Price here with Metro Builders. Is your roof leaking? Do you have mold stains on the ceiling of your home or business? Is your carrier denying your claim or offering a repair because they just don't have enough documentation? You need a contractor that performs work for insurance carriers each and every day, and Metro Builders is here to assist. This is why you call Metro Builders. At Metro Builders, we provide free estimates and consultation and love to assist homeowners with their claims. Metro Builders' process of arriving, inspecting, and diagnosing problems is second to none. Our team of Hague-certified technicians Restorations are standing by to assist you with providing estimates and photos to your carrier to document your loss. And the best part of all you owe is what your policy states. No large fees on top of the final scope. We use high-grade materials and are certified by companies like Atlas, CertainTeed, Owens Corning, and even Mulehide. We offer best-in-class warranties on all of our jobs, up to 50 years. When it comes to roofs and restoration, call Metro Builders to schedule your free inspection. Call me. 901-375-1717. That's 901-375-1717.
Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company, we have it all. From handmade Amish leather belts, fine and casual clothing, boots, casual boots, work boots, fancy boots, and even safety-toed boots. Lots of cowboy hats to choose from, even Nebo lights, good-looking duck head dress shirts, duck head caps, shorts, and pants. Tons of jeans from Ariat, Wrangler, Devil Dog, and Kimes Ranch jeans. At Hewlett & Dunn, we have a great selection of Old South t-shirts and caps. Fine clothing from dress to casual to Sunday best. Enjoy choosing from UFO's orthopedic-approved shoes. Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. Boots of every size, every color, every skin. Great quality Western, work, and safety toe boots. Hewlett & Dunn Boots and Clothing Company. 111 North Center Street, Collierville. Hewlett & Dunn. Hewlett & Dunn, serving you and your family since 1961.
Welcome to Triumph Auto Sales, where you'll have a great car buying experience. Triumph Auto Sales is your #1 source of quality pre-owned vehicles ranging from lease returns to new car trades, all at huge savings. Plus, Triumph has a full array of financing options to meet your needs. Find your next car online at triumphautosales.com or stop in today at 4875 Elmore Road. Triumph Auto Sales will help you get the vehicle you want at the price you need and the service you deserve. For a great car and a great experience from a local and family-owned business, visit Triumph Auto Sales.
Get ready for the NFL season with incredible offers from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers can bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Now is the best time to join FanDuel. The app is easy to use. You can bet on everything from spreads to player props and more. So visit FanDuel.com/win and kick off the NFL season with an offer you won't want to miss. FanDuel, official partner of the NFL.
21 plus and present in Tennessee. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See full terms at FanDuel.com/sportsbook. Gambling problem? Call TN Redline 1-800-889-9789. NFL Sunday Ticket offer ends 9/18/23. No refunds. Terms and embargoes apply. $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket, not YouTube TV. YouTube TV base plan required to watch YouTube TV. Redemption requires a Google account and current form of payment. Commercial use excluded. Subscription renews. Cancel anytime.
Now back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Here once again are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
Hello again, everyone. I'm Howard Cosell. Welcome aboard. ABC's Monday Night Football.
Nothing says Monday Night Football like that, does it?
Man, nothing.
We are ready for tonight, and what a stage for it in the Meadowlands at MetLife Stadium for Jets hosting the Bills. Have you heard Aaron Rodgers is with the Jets?
No, you're kidding.
He is. And Mike Greenberg's going to have on a cheerleading outfit tonight.
He might. Well, and I've been seeing, we've got ESPN on in here. Some bad weather going through New York right now. So some thunderstorms. I hope we get this off on time and that we don't have any rain delays. But I know they just showed a clip where there was lightning. And so that scares me a little bit.
Come on, weather, and we know tonight will be emotional there on this date, and it should be, and it will be. We are so happy to be partnered with Ruth's Chris Steakhouse for Monday Night Football pick and preview. Whether it's date night, a birthday after a big win, or just because, raise a steak in celebration at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, Memphis, in the Regalia Shopping Center. Hear the sizzles? This is how celebrating and enjoying Monday Night Football should be done, and how we will celebrate on Monday Night Football. For any occasion, Treat yourself to one of the classic USDA prime beef steaks, seasoned and broiled to perfection, then served sizzling hot on one of Ruth's signature 500-degree plates. Trust us on the temperature and trust us on a great time at Ruth's Chris Memphis in Regalia with plenty of safe parking.
Kevin Johnson is the general manager and Jared Wells is his executive chef, and they want everyone to know about their holiday party plans, but it will be here before you know it, so you need to start now for the perfect event. They're open for lunch on Sunday, happy hour running from Monday through Thursday, 4 to 6, and Sunday, 3:30 to 6. The most hospitable steakhouse in town, Ruth's Chris. They also have gift cards always available, so pop in there, get a gift card for one of your friends, co-workers, especially with those holidays just right around the corner. You talked about the boiling. They have a patented boiling method. Hear the sizzle and enjoy Monday Night Football on all the TVs. Visit ruthchris.com to make a reservation and celebrate the right way with Ruth's Chris Memphis.
And the best shrimp cocktail in town, no doubt about it. Jets and Bills tonight. Bills Super Bowl window after this year, if they don't get there, closed or closing?
The Bills or the
For the Bills.
I think closing. I think we've the past 2 years. This year we're kind of seeing
big
that
year.
prime. I think this needs to be a big year.
I am really sorry that DeMar Hamlin is on the inactive list
but
tonight.
I get it. I understand.
I get it. Look, just to be alive,
Hey, it's incredible.
We'll take it. Jets window.
Seems like it's just starting.
All right, Favre only played there a year.
Yeah.
Does Aaron Rodgers really end his career in New York? Or is there one more stop after this one? There's only one Bay Area team now.
They seem to have their quarterback. I don't know if I'm sure you would take Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, but I don't know. You look at all those young weapons the Jets have. You look at that defensive line, you got a young weapon. That secondary, you got a young weapon. Running back, you got a young weapon. Receiver, they've just got young guys all around.
With running back. Matt Campbell was the coach that was going to fix every problem out there in college football. I think he's done a great job.
Sure.
How do you not win more with Brock Purdy and Breece Hall?
It's hard to believe because, you remember those were the can't-miss guys in college football when they were both at Iowa State, but you're right, just couldn't do anything with them.
Will be a fun setting tonight for Buffalo and for the Jets tonight. The Jets are 2.5 point. Buffalo's a 2.5 point favorite over the Jets. 2.5 over the Jets. Over the weekend in the NFL, I mentioned my bagel 0-5. Jay Morgan 3-2. Bryant 4-1. So Bryant, you get to pick first.
Let's see. I think I'm going to go, I don't know. It seems like everybody loves the Jets this year. They love the Jets tonight. At home as an underdog, I think I'll take the Jets. We'll see what happens. I had a good weekend in the NFL, so if I take a loss here, we'll just say that's okay.
Mike Greenberg, I'm going to follow him. Well, he's probably there, isn't he? In some capacity.
I would think so.
Minimum fan.
Yeah.
But he does get up really early.
It's true.
Not as early as he used to on Mike and Mike.
Yeah.
But his Twitter tonight, just what if? If it were 35-10 Buffalo. It could be system overload for him.
It really could be.
Jay Morgan Harder 3-2 over the weekend, and both of y'all got there with Cleveland straight up, so you get an extra point for your shot pick. Good picks there. We've never had a group lock on a lock or shock.
Have we not? Wow.
2 out of 3 there. Y'all both got there. Jay Morgan, your pick tonight.
I'll take the Jets tonight, please. Plus 2.5. I'll take the points.
Both of y'all. Y'all both did it without spelling out Jets. That's a rule in media.
Jets.
You spell it out, don't you?
That's right.
I'm going to take the BILLS. And on an 0-5 week, I'm sorry, Bills fans. I just did it to you.
Bills, too many letters for me to spell out. I'm nervous.
I'm going to take Buffalo 28-24 tonight. And group locks this weekend, we were 1-0 in college and 0-1 in the NFL. We all had Pittsburgh.
Yeah, well,
San Francisco that good?
It would seem like they're that good. It's hard. I told you earlier, there's good, and then there's going into Pittsburgh and blowing out the Steelers on their home field, and that's what San Francisco did.
Running game for Buffalo. Do they need one? You have to have something.
You got to have something. Especially with that secondary.
Or is it the quarterback?
I mean, you're
but
going to need
traditional running back game for Buffalo.
I think you got to get something going.
That's the question.
Yeah, I mean that's the question, but I think they need I think they need to establish somewhat of a run game early to at least have it there for late in the game, because I think you're going to need it late in the game.
And late in the year, and especially in those cold weather games that they are very accustomed to, you can't have your quarterback hitting that frozen field that many times. You got to do it from the traditional running back position. All time Jets and Bills. Who wants to go first with their all-time New York Jets?
I'll start with my Jets.
Number one's really easy.
I'll start with my Jets. My OLI. I got an OLI for both teams, so bear with me. My OLI, Brett Favre. I mean, I only spent short time there, but hey, wow, what a time that was when he went. Number 4, Mark Sanchez. People forget, he becomes a commentator. A lot of people want to poke fun at him. The butt fumble.
That's all we can remember.
Oh, everyone talks about it as a bad thing. I mean, it was a gift to us. I mean, it's the gift that keeps on giving every time it gets brought up.
A couple of AFC championship games.
Back-to-back championship game appearances. I mean, he was a really good quarterback in a time that the Jets just weren't that great. He was kind of a light for them for a time there. That was my number 4. Number 3, Chad Pennington. 32 wins as a starting quarterback.
Knoxville native Chad Pennington.
That's right. 32 wins for them. 13,738 yards. 2 playoff wins and 3 playoff appearances. So he's number 3 on my list. Joe Namath. Number 2, a Super Bowl win for him. He also has the record.
Joe Namath 2?
The most overrated quarterback in the history of football.
Wow. Oh, I can't wait for Jay Morgan's list now.
Such Harris.
Number 2 for me.
He all time with the Jets, his one-loss record is under 500.
Is it really?
Yes.
I actually didn't know that. But, you look at he has the team record for wins, touchdown passes, yards.
But he came through poolside at the Fontainebleau, Jay Morgan.
A Super Bowl.
In more ways than one, he came through.
I think he's the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl, quite frankly.
Wow.
Oh, no, come on now.
Seriously, I think he's the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl.
Over Jeff Hostetler.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That hurts me so much. I love Joe Namath. I've pushed people over to get to Joe Namath to shake his hand. I've pushed over older women to get and done that.
With that being said, my number 1 Jets quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, making his debut. But Brett, he's Aaron Rodgers. I mean, discount double check. I mean, how could you not put him number 1? He doesn't need a game. He's number 1 for me for the Jets.
I already need to apologize to Ruth Chris for this segment. I had no idea it was going this direction.
Aaron Rodgers, prove me right tonight.
Jay Morgan, your Jets list.
My 4 is Kenny O'Brien. Ken O'Brien is my number
good
4. 3 for me is Chad Pennington. 2 is Vinny Testaverde, and number 1 also Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, let's go.
I mean, he's the best quarterback. I think he's better than Tom Brady, quite frankly. If we're just judging talent, Aaron Rodgers is the best quarterback in my lifetime, and I really don't think it's that close. I know people like to say the Super Bowl championships, but the minute Aaron Rodgers puts on a Jet jersey, I think he's the best quarterback to ever play for the New York Jets.
The minute he puts on most teams' jersey, he's the best quarterback. I mean, he's incredible.
My second favorite sports NFL person of all time, behind Archie Manning, maybe third, behind Eli Manning too, is Joe Namath. You don't even have him in a top 4. Those white shoes, that guarantee,
most overrated,
that win.
I do not think Joe. I don't like Joe Namath.
And I missed him Saturday on game day. He was 8-1 in his picks. The only game he missed was Bama.
That's a good guest picker.
Good guest picker. Number 1 for me. Don't listen to these guys, Joe Willie. It's Joe Namath. It's Broadway Joe. Number 2, Vinny Testaverde. That I think's right there, kind of with Boomer Esiason. It was a pretty good Jet in that hall of good with Drew Bledsoe, Rich Gannon, Tony Romo. They're right there. I don't think they're going to the Hall of Fame, but close. Number 3 for me, our guest on Wednesday, David Cohn. His father-in-law, Richard Todd, was great with the Jets, Alabama, just like Joe Namath. And number 4 for me, Ken O'Brien. Jay Morgan, your all-time Buffalo Bill list.
For the Buffalo Bills, I've got a little bit of a recency bias on all these, I suppose. My number 4 is Tyrod Taylor.
Good for you.
My number 3 is Ryan Fitzpatrick. My number 2 is Jim Kelly, and my number 1 is Josh Allen, the current one.
Jim Kelly, number 2?
I like that.
Chad Kelly's uncle, number 2.
Yeah, number 2.
I like it. Shall I go next?
We could have had Fitzmagic on both lists.
We could have. We easily could have.
I kind of. Do you? Go ahead.
I do
No,
not.
you didn't have your one.
And for my Bills, very similar to Jay Morgan's actually. OLI, Tyrod Taylor. People forget how good Tyrod Taylor was.
You're right. I forgot
with the Bills. You've already forgotten. I mean, how could you? Number 4, Ryan Fitzpatrick. For me, he's up there in NFL all-time passing yards. Ryan Fitzpatrick, number 4 for me. Joe Ferguson is number 3 for me. He led the league his third season in the league. He led the NFL with 25 touchdown passes. He's also number 2 all-time passer
Former
for the
Liberty
Bills.
Bowl MVP on a losing team.
That's right. So got to put him up there for me. Number 2, Josh Allen. I think very easily could end up number 1 before he retires.
Don't tell me Fitzmagic won.
No. Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's number 4. He's number 4. It's okay. Number 1, I do have Jim Kelly. A Hall of Famer. All of those yards he put up. I think you go up to Buffalo, you ask anybody who's the greatest to ever do it, they're all going to say Jim Kelly. He's an absolute legend in that city, so I'll put him number 1.
Josh Allen just winning one would pass
easily
Jim Kelly.
Easily.
Jim Kelly's number 1 for me. That what he did, those 4 Super Bowls, the shot to win it was the first one. We kind of all know that. Now, number 2, Josh Allen. 3 for me, Joe Ferguson out of Woodlawn High in Shreveport. And then to Arkansas, he was the number 1 recruit in the country. And Frank Broyles back then was ready to go air raid. Mm-hmm. Didn't have the stomach to stick to it. Went to the wishbone at the end of Joe Ferguson's last year, and they left on very acrimonious terms. Of course, the beauty of Frank Broyles, no matter how bad you fell out with him, you would always fall back in with him. And number 4 for me, the congressman, the running mate of Bob Dole in 1996, Jack Kemp, who always introduced himself in politics as a bleeding heart conservative. That's what he called himself, and was a really good player in the early days of the AFL. So Kelly, Allen, Ferguson, Kemp for me.
I like this 4 quarterback list. I think we're going to get to a couple of teams throughout the season that it's going to get a little off the wall for picking 4 top quarterbacks.
Next week, we've got 2 games on Monday night. We'll just do the 6:15 games.
We have 2 games on Monday
night?
We've
got 6:15 and 8 o'clock next week.
Wow. Okay. So, all right. So, and who's the 6:15 game?
The 6:15 game is
it Pittsburgh? I know Pittsburgh plays on Monday, but I didn't know we had 2 games, so I just thought they were the only ones on Monday.
New Orleans at Carolina.
Okay.
6:15.
That should be fun to do a top 4. I know who my number 1 is for both teams.
You got Bryce Young, number 1. He's never thrown a pass like Aaron Rodgers.
A little different circumstances there.
Quite different.
Quite different. No, I'm excited to do those 2 teams because I think those will be really, really fun to rank 4 quarterbacks. But let's go ahead and get to our final break of the day. When we come back, we'll wrap up today's show. Talk about Crunch Time.
Join the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin, for Wolo and Friends. Weekday mornings from 10 to 11 here on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
So you need to sell your house? I have the solution. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Any house, any area, as is. It's literally as simple as that. Just pick up your phone. Call 901-406-1101. That's 901-406-1101. Call my buddy Bill at I Buy Houses. Guaranteed to close in 5 days. If you need to sell your house fast, call Bill at 901-406-1101. That's Bill at I Buy Houses.
My friends at Miramichi are always innovative. They've got a new thing going I think you're going to like. They have a staggered rate pertaining to what time of day it is. You can get a better price if you go in the later afternoon than you will in the morning or in the afternoon. From noon to 3, there is a $10 savings. There's about a $13 savings from 3 until close. You can't beat all of the innovations or the beauty at Miramichi, and folks are flocking. No longer can you get a membership. There's a waiting list, but that's how popular Miramichi has become. And why wouldn't it? You've got different levels of competition. You have 5 different tee boxes you can choose from ultra hard to ultra fun. The thing that's a constant is the beauty. The back 9 is like taking a walk through the woods with a meandering stream, and there's a waterfall you'll love. Everything about Miramichi is cool. Go check it out in Woodstock, 12 minutes north of downtown. It's Miramichi.
Do you know one of the best things you can do for your employees or family's health? Provide Arctic Clear bottled water. Arctic Clear bottled water is your locally owned and operated bottled water provider. Arctic Clear is 100% natural spring water with free delivery and setup, dependable service, and no long-term contracts. What an easy choice. Call Jeff Manus today, 901-382-2363, or visit arctic-clear.com. Arctic Clear bottled water. Call now, 382-2363. That's 382-2363.
Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch has an offer you can't refuse. They will pay you to do business with them if you want luxury. And I'm talking the Genesis G70 car. If you would love to have that kind of new technology, they will give you a $1,000 rebate when you finance with Genesis Motor Finance. In other words, they'll pay you $1,000 to do business with them, and you get brand new luxury. You can't beat it. That's Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis, right at the corner of Craft Road and Highway 78 in Olive Branch. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis in Olive Branch, where customer retention is amazing. There's a reason. They take care of you with a team that's been together for a long time. Whether it's finance or whether it's service, you can't beat them. Homer Skelton Hyundai Genesis.
If you need glass replaced, there's only one name you need to know. Binswanger Glass, the largest full-service glass company in the U.S. They've been an industry leader for over 145 years. For all your residential, commercial, or auto glass needs, Binswanger Glass is the name you need to know. 24-hour emergency service for all commercial customers, plus a nationwide warranty on all professionally installed glass. Visit Binswanger Glass in Midtown at 340 South Hollywood across from the Liberty Bowl. Visit binswingerglass.com. Binswanger Glass.
Now, back to Sports Time on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. This hour is brought to you by Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Jean Company in Collierville. Once again, here are Brett Norsworthy and Bryant Dacus.
If I go crazy.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy!
This is Geraldo. It is crunch time.
You are looking live. In your life have you seen anything like that? Goodbye! Hello, Haskins.
It's obviously crunch time.
Hammer, nail, coffin. This baby is over.
The double steak grilled cheese burrito, so good. Double the steak with nacho cheese sauce, seasoned rice, red strips, sour cream, and the 3-cheese blend wrapped inside a warm flour tortilla, with even more 3-cheese blend grilled on the top. The double steak grilled cheese burrito, it hits the spot now at Taco Bell. And at Taco Bell, when they say they are feeding people's lives with unexpected good, they mean it. Bowl food you can't get anywhere else.
Well, what I learned today is that Team USA lost in the bronze medal match for the FIBA World Cup against Canada. But since then, a lot of people have been talking about what does this mean for the Paris Olympics? What happens then? How many guys from this team will be on that Olympic team? Well, reports started circulating this morning that LeBron James is all in on playing and has strong interest in participating in the Olympics in Paris next year. Supposedly, according to reports, James has spoken to Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, Jason Tatum, and Draymond Green, and they are all prepared to commit as well. And separately,
well, they need them.
Yeah. Devin Booker.
They need a coach too.
Well, yeah, but Devin Booker, Damian Lillard, De'Aaron Fox, and Kyrie Irving also have strong interest in participating as well. So, I mean, you could really see, a lot of people have been talking about, for the World Cup, they like to send the young guys. Kind of a lot of these veterans don't like to commit to the World Cup, but the Olympics is different, and it looks like people probably shouldn't have to worry too much because it looks like a lot of the stars of the NBA are ready to play in those games next
Steve
year.
Kerr should be embarrassed. He's not. He's too arrogant to be embarrassed about anything. What I learned today, the season isn't over. The Coach Nick Saban era at Alabama, it isn't over. But like all great dynasty, they end, whether from the Roman Empire to Westwood to the Bear, all great dynasties, they end. Gravity gets them as much as anything. That rarefied air, it's rarefied for a reason. Bama's got a lot of issues, O-line issues, quarterback needs development. I think he'll be good in time. Just don't think he's very good right now. and the secondary is a mess again.
It is. What I could have done without yesterday morning in the first slate of NFL games, Ravens running back J.K. Dobbins left with an injury, and immediately when he was injured, reports started coming out that the fear was that he had torn an Achilles, and sure enough, after getting it looked at, it was announced this morning that J.K. Dobbins has torn his Achilles yesterday in the early game against the Texans. And for this, I mean, look, the Ravens looked good yesterday against the Texans. Now, who knows what the Texans will be this year? A lot of young pieces.
I didn't think C.J. Stroud was bad.
I didn't think so either. I thought there were some positives there for Texans, but obviously for the Ravens, J.K. Dobbins is a running back that they definitely rely on, and so seeing him go down in week one, it made me sick to my stomach yesterday.
Sick to my stomach. Some of the Michigan State stuff.
Oh,
we
man.
Can't even read.
It's
go
incredible.
Google.
It's
know
crazy.
When Michigan State and the Big Ten do a scandal, they go all out. It's no ham and egg paying recruits or sleeping on a couch.
And I'm glad you put in Michigan State in that, too, because this is the first one in the last couple of years.
I mean, it's not cars. It's not clothes. It gets weird and freaky, and Mel Tucker, he has to be the dumbest person alive, just lit 90 million on fire.
Well, like David Cobb said, I'm sure you fire with cause and be able to keep a lot of that money, but
I don't think if they fire him with cause, I don't think
he'll get anything.
He won't get a dime.
But everyone was questioning that decision when it was made. I mean, when
it was heat of the moment off the Kenneth Walker.
Yes.
Sorry for the double entendre on heat of the moment.
Oh, jeez, Lord.
This story.
It's awful.
Wow.
It really is awful. Coming down yesterday morning, it was awful to see. But where you beaming tonight?
To New York for Aaron Rodgers. Maybe it'll go better than Brett Favre's 1 year as a Jet. I'll bet you now. Let's bet a future lunch wherever y'all want to go.
Okay.
I'll bet you now this isn't Aaron Rodgers' last stop.
Okay.
I think he's super odd, and he's played all of his career way off Broadway in the frozen tundra. And when he tells the New York media or the New York fans to RELAX, they're going to spell a word back to him. Yep. The first one's going to be I can't spell. The second one's going to be YOU.
Yeah, I think you're right. But I'll take you up on that bet. I like that. I'll take you up on it. Jay Morgan, where are you beaming tonight?
I'm going to go Chicago for WWE Raw.
All right, I like it. I'm going to beam with you, Brett, to New York. We had the Giants there, a rainy game last night between the Giants and the Cowboys. Looks like it could be another rainy one tonight for the Bills and the Jets, but it should be a good night of sports.
It will be. We'll keep our eye on a lot from this game and around sports. I said earlier, I'm sorry DeMar Hamlin's not playing tonight, but just that he is hale and hearty.